All right. Three, two, one, and wow. All right. We're back. It has been 5 months, I think, since the last official guest centric bucket list episode. And we are back with Sadly, It's Bradley. And I think you were probably the actual first like VR centric guest that we've had. So this is probably the most that we'll be talking about VR in our podcast thus far, which is kind of hilarious since we're a VR centric podcast. But how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. If there's one thing I am only good at, it's talking about VR because it's a gimmick and stuff, and I'm very good at that gimmick. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So we are currently in VR chat, and I think that's where you spend a lot of your time is within VR chat. When did you start playing?
Surprisingly, actually, really, I've been doing VR for really like full time since 2016, but I've only really like dived into the VR chat drug this year, actually.
Really?
Um, yeah, yeah, it was really I guess I suffered from like a lot of social anxiety and wanting to hop into a social VR experience, but what really got me going into full diving into it was I finally got full body tracking, and like it was just one of those things where I just like, wow, this is amazing. This makes me want to try VR chat more and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's been great since then.
Your model's a bit fun. Are you in your overlay or overlay or something? Cuz it's like flipping out. Oh, there you go.
Really? That's weird. Let
You
me try
good?
this out. Um, that's weird. It doesn't show up my thing. Let me just switch to this for this. Let's see if this works better. Ah, frick. Wait,
Yeah,
what?
there we go.
Oh, it's losing. Oh, okay. I know what was happening. Yeah. All right. Wait, no, that's not what's happening. What?
Well, I do want to show off your virtually asleep t-shirt though that you had.
This might fix it. Give me a second. I think might have. Sorry about this.
Oh no, you're good.
Okay.
I think that fixed it. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Um. Yeah, I don't remember what we were saying.
Virtually asleep t-shirt. Check it out. You can purchase it at bradsmells.com, right? Is that
Merch.bradsmells.com.
merch.bradsmells.com? Yeah. Uh and then for our merch, we've had stickers made. Hopefully they'll get here Monday, I think is what the postal service said. I'm kind of sick and tired of postage right now. It seems like nothing wants to get here on time ever. But what can you do during a global pandemic except start a podcast in VR where you can talk to people and it won't matter. The unless COVID finds a way to transmit through my podcast, I would hate that.
Right through the
Just
screens.
right through my screen, man. That would suck. Um, so I know you have a lot of headsets, or am I wrong about that? How many headsets do you have?
Okay, well, it actually I can say I've tried a lot of headsets because through the years I've been loaned headsets by companies, because you're supposed to do reviews and blah 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 blah. But I tend to not keep the ones I don't use because it's usually a waste. But I mean, yeah, I've tried the Pimaxes, I've tried the reverbs, I've tried all the Oculus spyware stuff. I've tried everything.
What's been your favorite headset so far? The Index?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I pretty much use the Index all the time. It's just even like now, I've been trying some newer headsets, and while they're not like, I mean, they got some really cool features that are really nice. But the problem is a lot of these newer headsets, they just don't have that all around perfection, especially for like VR content creation. Like they'll either have like really bad microphones or like you can't wear them long enough because they're just not designed for comfort. Either they cut cost or like they're just really heavy because they're putting too many high resolution screens on the front. And um, yeah, the Index is still my daily driver until something really like replaces it in terms of all around experience.
I wish I wish that companies like as far as VR goes, there were like it's kind of like gaming headsets to me. You know, like people who buy gaming headsets, they want a headset and they want a microphone at the same time. Whereas like for
Hmm.
me, I want to be able to buy those things separately. Like I just want to have a VR headset. Like I don't need the microphone. Well, I mean, I guess I would like some kind of microphone, but I don't need it to be like incredible quality, and I would like to wear my own headphones. So if there was some kind of like package option where I could just purchase the headset by itself, uh, without any kind of compromises to that
Well,
aspect in particular, I would definitely purchase that.
well, it's funny because that's like, I mean, a lot of the headsets a few years ago were doing that, and then everyone complained when headsets with integrated audio started coming out, and people pretty much prefer the frictionless experience generally than hey, that's an extra wire you have to plug in, or whatever stuff like that. People in the really people in the consumer VR stuff really hate having any extra wire, even if it improves something dramatically. They're very against it.
I All right. And this is a super controversial opinion, but I do not like my index all that much. Like just I feel like the price that I paid for it just does not justify the improvements that I was looking for. I've had um as far as my VR journey goes, I started out with like the one that you plug into your Samsung, like it was like the Samsung S7 that
Oh
worked with
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And I was like watching movies on that and I was like, "Damn, this is like an actual technology that you can fit into a phone. I wonder what the standalones are like." And so I purchased the PlayStation VR and then I sold that and I got the HTC Vive back in like 2017. And I don't know what it is. I feel like I'm the only person on planet Earth who actually liked the Vive wands. Like I did not mind them, and they were indestructible. Like I could throw them across the room and they would they would still work just fine. So, like I went from that and then I got the index controllers. And then I got the headset and then I think I got the two base stations to
So what
finalize it.
year did you get the actual HMD? Do you remember the Index HMD?
Oh, it was probably like mid 2019, I think.
Oh, that's well 2019, mid 2019 is when it came out.
Oh, is it? Okay, so it might have been
Yeah.
late 2019. I'm not great with dates. I don't remember quite
Yeah, yeah,
when
no
it was.
worries. Well, it's like
Um,
I love this thing. I mean, I again, I said it's my daily driver, but like I tell people who ask me all the time, should I buy an Index right now? I actually tell them probably not, like not at all, because the price hasn't changed. Unless you're like really wanting to do VR content, like the Index is amazing for people who like to do VR streaming or like I don't know, gameplay, let's play garbage or whatever. But like it's really starting to show its age. It actually surprises me that well, well, actually, I guess it doesn't surprise me that you don't really like the Index since you got it, since you're one of the Vive wand fans. I never hated the Vive wands actually. Like it was good for at the time, but I think really any controller. This is my like a lot of my complaints with controllers in VR is the fact that I like having stuff strapped to my hands like
okay, that is
this.
one aspect that I really like about the index controllers is I don't have to hold them. I can just
Hmm.
move around and it doesn't matter. But to me, that just like it doesn't make up for the fact of how I don't know how rudimentary these feel as far as the
Mhm.
technology goes because this is capacitive. It's not
Mhm.
much more than that, and I have weird hands to where it doesn't pick up my pinky all the time and I have to put it in a weird spot,
Yeah, yeah.
so it's really hard for hand shapes to work with that whenever it's like a strictly hardware thing, whereas
Right.
you take something Listen, I hate Facebook as a company and I hate giving them any kind of praise, but goddamn, they made a good headset. Like the Oculus Quest is a good headset. My hands keep freaking out. I think my
Well, it's like you can love the hardware, but hate the company that releases it. There's you
yeah.
can do both things. When it comes to like really the index controllers is yeah, I mean capacitive sensors, it's great and all, but this again, this hardware is showing its age, and
Yeah,
I've
it's
read a lot of
aging out
patents.
really quickly from
Mm-hmm.
what I've seen. So,
Yeah.
I'm
It
really hoping that like I mean, I hope in the future that we don't even have to have controllers at all, that it can just be hand tracking and, I don't even have to worry about strapping things to my hands.
Yeah, I get that. I'm someone. So here's the benefits. I think it's important to talk about the benefits of hand tracking, even from like outside our bubble, who clearly spent a lot of time in VR. But I think the one thing that index controllers and a lot of hand tracked based controllers have done is really like lessen the friction for new users, because when you think about the Vive wands, the biggest problem I had with the Vive wands is whenever I would show people how to play VR the first time, and I would tell them to use the grips or something like that, they couldn't find the freaking grips. Like the actual controller layout was not natural unless you've spent a lot of time in gaming beforehand, or at least had an idea what's going on. But with things such as like even a little bit of finger tracking, or like even the Knuckles have done, is you put people in VR for first time, you give them a Knuckles, and they see an object, they know
To
grab
just
with your
grab it.
hand,
Yeah.
just grab it. And I think stuff like that is kind of like why I think a lot of companies like Valve has really pushed for stuff like this, even if it is like, again, it's very simple technologies, capacitive sensors, but like there is value to getting people quickly into experience with zero friction without really having to do annoying tutorials before every.
Yeah.
I remember every Vive game, they literally had like the first 30 minutes was a tutorial, then the rest of hour is a short-sighted gameplay. But like it adds a lot to make friction of just every VR thing better, I think.
It was definitely weird going from so like I'm gonna be honest, VR chat was kind of the only game I played aside from Beat Saber and like occasionally, I dropped into like Half-Life Alyx once and
Hmm.
played Fallout 4 VR whenever it like came with my Vive. But like I got really used to the controls for the Vive wands and I knew all of the gestures and what I should be doing. And it was definitely very weird to where like, it's like, oh, you press up and to the right for a peace sign. It's like you just literally do a peace sign now, and that's just how that works.
Hmm.
And obviously, it like okay, I'm doing a peace sign right now, and it only detects one of my fingers, and it's like you have to do the whole calibrating thing to get that right. But
Yeah.
I I just and that's one of the main reasons I don't want to recommend people the index unless you are just like so hardcore and you have money blowing holes in your pockets. Like you just have to have this bleeding edge VR technology. Is that
Hmm.
like wait until it gets refined until you
Yeah.
can purchase it and be comfortable with it, because like the amount of people right now who I like my friends who have RMA'd their index controllers 5, 6, 7 times is just
Hmm.
completely ridiculous. Whereas like
Hmm.
I never once had to RMA my Vive ones, but that's just because like that technology was so. I mean, it'd been uh like done before.
Yeah.
So we didn't have to really change much. Whereas this is so brand new that it's going to be a while before we can get it to the point where I could throw this thing against the wall and it wouldn't
Right.
matter.
Well, I think there's a couple things I want to tear apart from that. Well, the first thing is like waiting for something better. It's funny that we talk about this today because um I'm known in the community for I guess VR hardware analyzations. I'll study everything I can to figure out what companies are working on for the next big thing for hardware wise. And one patent that came out today from Valve is something called cluster group based sensing for hand tracking. Basically, this is not a new patent. They've been updating it quite a lot since they originally released this patent in 2019. But it's basically just to fix the problems we're talking about, where like you lift your ring finger, but it's not actually lifting your ring finger because it has
Yeah.
to guess correctly what finger it is.
Oh
So
no, it did it
we
that
are
time.
seeing
Good job, Valve. Check that out. Your technology works.
yeah, but like they are making it better, and that's kind of things for all like VR hardware is as they add more difficulty, things are going to get better as they figure out what went wrong. Especially like stuff like again hand sizes, hand shapes. There's a lot of stuff you have to plan for, not even just for hands, but for face shapes and comfort values too. Another thing I wanted to talk about is like you brought up the RMA stuff, and yeah, that's a huge problem. That's highly related to Valve being very new to hardware, whereas before HTC, the reason why Valve went with HTC back in the day was because they knew they had very good experience with manufacturing and making sure they made a product that will last long enough. Because especially the first gen of like when you were trying to when you're trying to reboot consumer VR, if that thing breaks within a couple months, consumer VR could just die from just that, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot more important to make sure you come out of the gate well. Whereas now HTC still has really good manufacturing, but they don't have a lot of the next level minds that some of these other VR players do. But they still you see people still do HTC for their great quality level and lack of RMAs. So yeah.
So, if someone asked you, if they had money to spend and they were like, Index or Quest, what
Mm-hmm.
what would you recommend them to do?
Well, I've been telling people like, unless you're dying to get in VR right now, I would literally tell them to wait till next year because I think next year is going to be an insane year for all VR hardware. Honestly, I told them if they really can't wait, then honestly, if you don't mind Facebook, which kills me to say, just buy a Quest and then it's only $300 and then you can use the money you save to get something better next year. But I really don't tell people to buy a full index kit right now. I just
Yeah.
think it's a terrible investment. It's just it's dated. Again, it's dated, and yeah,
Which, by
coming
the
coming.
way, you don't have to use a Facebook account if you if you want an Oculus. You can set it up with is it an Oculus developer account, and then you can kind of like get around that to be able to use
Oh,
it.
you actually have to attach those accounts to Facebook now too.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay. I
they
saw
go.
some tutorials on how to do it without Facebook, and I think it like you can do it, you just won't get
Hmm.
updates for it. I'm just not
Yeah,
sure.
I only know this because again, like this is the stuff I've tried because I mean that's a great video. I'm very vocal on my channel against Facebook and stuff, so like I'm always looking for ways to like showcase to users, hey, you can use your Quest without Facebook. So then I'll start trying these methods, and then they'll be like videos from like 6 months ago, and they don't really work anymore. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's the only way Facebook gets their money back from the huge amount of losses that they're getting from the actual hardware sales. So of course they're gonna enforce that Facebook account pretty heavily.
Oh, my hair is getting in my eyes and my headset. See, that's one of the only problems with doing podcasts in VR is I have to keep technology strapped to my face at all times. Um, but I really do love doing this because I wouldn't be able to uh talk to people this way anywhere else. I think VR is the the bleeding edge of technology. This is where it's going, whether
Yeah.
people like it or not. So I think utilizing it in this way is a great way to showcase that, like, hey, this isn't a gimmick as it people thought it was like 5 years ago. This is
Mm-mm.
something that we can actually participate in, and like I remember I showed my yeah, you have the videos of people showing their old folks whatever the VR headset, but like
Yeah.
um I think if you actually, like I showed my grandmother VR a long time ago, and it's just like something that she had never even fathomed could happen within her lifetime. She saw it's like you go from like growing up during the Vietnam War and that kind of stuff to seeing VR technology, just like
Mm-hmm.
the disparity there. is really cool. But speaking of like what's on, the horizon for VR technology, because you were talking about things that are happening like next year at the closest.
Yeah.
What is coming out next year? Like what do we have to look forward to?
I think the biggest thing that's going to be most obvious to people is we're going to see a lot better form factors in terms of like making headsets way less and make them smaller. The big reason for that is because a lot of companies are switching to new types of displays. Well, they're not. I shouldn't say they're new. Actually, they've actually been around for a while, especially for use in stuff such as electronic viewfinders for like DSLR cameras and stuff. But that technology, a lot of companies over the past few years have been realizing, wow, these screens, we can pack in a lot of pixels.
Like OLED micro displays?
OLED micro displays, yeah, you can pack in a
I
lot of
said the word.
pixels.
I said the word.
I know I really feel like I've been saying that word so much, but like I guarantee next year when these products come out, every YouTuber in their left nut is gonna be mentioning that word all the time. So it's like, hey, if I say it now, like I'm Nostradamus, as people have said, but like no, this technology, the only reason why it's gotten better is because they've been able to figure out how to switch over to the RGB stripe in OLED. Because a lot of issues with older OLED displays, I can literally grab one off my desk for my Vive right now. Is they were large and they were, I mean, they were okay resolution, but the resolution doesn't really matter. It was the way that the pixels were arranged on these things. But now, like, just like when Valve switched to the Index, they switched to LCDs because they were able to find a supplier that aligned all the pixels in RGB stripe patterns, so the screen door effect wasn't such an issue. And you're seeing a lot of that for micro OLED micro displays as well. So some of them are like reaching super high resolutions. They're smaller, which means when you have smaller displays, you can have much smaller and lighter headsets. That's kind of the way it goes. And I mean, people, even people in the VR industry didn't want to switch away from OLED because there's a lot of benefits to OLED, like the colors, the contrast
That's one thing
values.
I really missed about my Vive was my deep blacks, my deep blacks, no. And then I put it on, and it's like, wow, the sky is really gray tonight. Like,
Yeah.
uh,
No, I
but
mean it was something we just kind of had to deal with until technology got better. But it wasn't even just like the we were waiting on the displays to get better. We were also waiting on the actual optics, the lenses to compensate as well. Because again, these are very small displays, and even though some OLED micro displays are trying to get bigger to make some of the optics choices for companies easier, magnifying a tiny display without losing a lot of the actual FOV, for example, or a lot of like even distortion stuff is something that's been a problem that's only been recently being figured out of how to solve. So I think that's the biggest thing, really. Like next year, new lens, new displays, and everything else we get from companies because there's a lot of companies hopping in next year. I swear to God, they're all gonna be doing something very different to add their own technologies to it, and it's really exciting. Like I really think next year, like right now, everyone's complaining that it's so boring. VR is like in a lull period right now, but like next year, I feel like we're just gonna be exhausted from all the VR hardware news and like the new companies hopping in and stuff.
yeah,
I'm
isn't
so
Apple
excited.
making a headset? Like, aren't
Yeah,
what the hell? Like,
I
what?
mean, Apple is actually something I've recently like so like um Apple. It's actually really funny because all of my I call it research because I started researching for Valve, figuring out what they're doing, and then all the things I learned from reading patents and like all the technology they're using, I was able to apply to all the other companies too. And it's really funny seeing a lot of the people that are quote unquote leaking what Apple's working on, and some of the leaks you can easily sift out when you have enough knowledge of what's possible with current tech, and then you can literally get a clear picture of what Apple's working on. So yeah, they're clearly working on like a. It's kind of like I would say like a Lynx. Do you know the Lynx headset?
I don't. Dreams, look
What
that up.
about
What is
yeah? I mean,
the
it's
Lynx
like
headset?
it's a mixed. Okay, it's not Win. I hate this. It's not a Windows mixed reality. It's like a mixed reality headset, and the point is to focus on enabling AR through camera pass through. I mean, if you think about like the Quest recently added pass through AR with their
So
cameras, even though it's really bad.
what are the others two? So that's two. Is that two cameras and then sensors on the bottom there?
Yeah, yeah, that should be the links. I think they call it the R1. That's a very basic idea of what Apple seems to be working on, but
Okay. It
the
looks
idea is again
really
just
lightweight. Can you go to images?
Hey, Colin.
yeah. So links just recently, they were originally working on an enterprise mixed reality headset. Then they realized there's a lot of interest in this concept, and then they started taking things out and making it more consumer friendly.
There we go. I
And
think that one right there. The one you just had it hovered on. Yeah. Oh, wow. Those are really thin.
yeah. Oh wait, I hope.
Yeah,
Let me
are
see.
we look You just look at the
Here, let me
stream
see
there.
this.
Is
So that's an older prototype. Just type in links R1. It's not too different than that though. There we go. This is more. Yeah, these are more
Oh,
accurate.
wow. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. Again, this headset is more focused on like pass through AR. Again, just activating AR because the concept of AR glasses that people always talk about.
I don't believe in AR, man. I don't believe it's going to go anywhere anytime soon. That's so far in the future. Like, I tried on the Microsoft HoloLens at an event one time, and it was, like, so unimpressive. It was really just, like, no better than strapping Pokemon Go on my phone to my face. Like, that's kind of what it felt like. And I really don't believe that AR technology, there's like really anything with AR that we
hmm
can't do with VR already. You know, like the thing, like people are like, oh, you would be able to, like overlay something, I don't know, like for medical students and be able to see, like you can do that in a VR headset already. You can
hmm
already, pull things up in VR headsets. And it's the genuine only thing I can think of, and this may just be, short sightedness, but like the only thing I can think of as far as usefulness for AR is like heads up displays, like things that
Yeah.
overlay. But that seems really simple, like we already have that kind of technology. It's just not cheap
hmm
enough yet.
Well, no, like I said, I think AR has a huge value to it, even if it's not possible to put it into glasses, which is what everyone wants. We see everyone when they say AR, the first thing that pops in their head is literal like glasses with a tiny little computer inside. But technology is not there yet. There's a lot of reasons why the technology is not there yet. Multiple, I can list multiple hardware components that need work for that. But there is a lot of value, especially companies like Apple are realizing, wow, we have these really high tech cameras, we have lidar and everything, and we can do some really cool stuff with our phones and using like mobile AR. So their ideas, instead of going for the glasses approach, is to focus fully on camera pass through, which is a VR headset essentially, but tons more cameras on around there that will make the actual the real world not look really bad because a lot of like we've been using mostly pass through in VR as like more of like a protection for ourselves like with chaperone and guardian and stuff. That's mostly
Yeah.
what we've been using it for. And Apple's like, well, we already have all the sensors. We have some great cameras. Let's implement that into a headset that can do VR, but we'll
That's the
market it
thing.
as a mixed reality headset.
That's the thing is like for one thing, I'm really glad that we've reached the point where people have realized VR like technology capabilities. So instead of these companies like HTC and Valve and whatever, Windows Mixed Reality, like these big companies are stepping in to do some serious
Yeah.
R&D for their, they've refined this technology and they're actually going to start putting some serious work into it. So
Yeah.
the um the curve is going to be exponential for quality for VR headsets.
And what's really cool about it as well is, I mean, I just recently covered a new display technology from Sony, who Sony's been one of the probably the best OLED microdisplay designers and manufacturers for years. They've always been ahead in that regard, and even other like camera companies that would use their microdisplays, they would order Sony's to put in their cameras. But they recently figured out that they can emit using infrared pixels in their OLED microdisplays, and then um, microdisplays, for them to work, they had to be on a silicon backplane. And Sony also realized, hey, we have the silicon backplane. Why don't we just slap a sensor on there? So when the IR bounces off of people's eyes, we can also use the display to sense where people are looking for eye tracking as well. So like a lot
Like
of companies are
varifocal lenses? Is that what those are called?
no. Varifocal is a different thing. You need you need eye tracking for solid state varifocal. What varifocal lenses do is, so you might not even notice because you've gotten so used to VR, but if you put your hand close up to your face in VR, it's not really in focus because your lenses have only one focal point, and the software. When people are developing software for VR, they have to kind of rely on that one focal point and design a certain distance away from your face to keep everything's the most clear. And usually that's about 6.5 feet or something around that away from your eyes. But what varifocal can do is if you actually have something up to your face and you're looking at it, your hand will be the most clear, and everything around would I don't want to say blur, but sort of unfocused, just like in real life. When you focus on objects closely, everything
Yeah,
else
just
usually.
like, your uh I'm forgetting the word for
No,
it.
no,
Is
it
it
just goes out
peripheral
of
vision?
focus.
You're
Yeah, your
just your
peripheral, exactly. So that's what varifocal lenses are aiming to do, and it's something that a lot of people have been wanting because again,
That seems
um,
so hard to implement though.
it's getting very easy. I actually literally just before the stream, I found someone that's in high school that used parts that is already available, and they designed their own varifocal lenses, solid state as well, which the technology's there. It's just getting the right implements for it. And companies that want to do it, Valve is very interested in it. Oculus is very interested in it. Valve has a supplier, a manufacturer for lenses that can do this already. So it's like, it's hard, but it's possible, and it's being implemented sooner than even I expected. I didn't think that we were going to see solid state varifocal lenses for another few years, but um, yeah, there's a company that's been manufacturing them already for a couple years now. So yeah.
I don't think I would buy it, honestly, because like I just, unless I try it beforehand, it just seems like something your eyes move so quickly and they can
Hmm.
focus really really fast, and I don't know if a computer can keep up with that to the point where like it's not even noticeable for people.
Yeah.
um it, because it still has to transmit all that information and come back to you, so it might get nauseating even if like at first you try it on at like a demo at CES whatever, and it's like, wow, this is so cool,
Hmm.
and then you actually get it and put it on. It's like, okay, after 2 hours this gets really really nauseating for I'm not
Well,
sure how that would work,
the
but
way it actually works, surprisingly, is from what I understand. I could be wrong about this, but I've been doing a lot of because I've literally been studying lens technology, which is first of all a very hard thing to understand when you don't have like a degree in it. But like
oh yeah.
um, from what I understand, a lot of these solid state varifocal lenses are not actually changing anything in software. All they're doing is bending the light differently using liquid crystal lenses stacked upon in different ways. So it's like they run
Yeah,
a
if you open
current.
the stream, I have the video of them, or like a little image of them running.
Oh
Like
Yeah,
showing the
really?
yeah,
difference.
Here, let's see.
yeah. This is
You
perfect.
you
So
zoom in there.
so this is a perfect example of a prototype. I guarantee that this software piece that Oculus had, they didn't change anything in the actual game itself. They were just running off of the hardware. Um,
Oh. Okay. I see how that's interesting.
yeah.
So that's going off of distance, not necessarily where you're looking. Okay.
Well, uh, if this is one of the more recent, I'm pretty sure this is from one of the more recent ones that require eye tracking. The first way that people were trying to do varifocal was actually moving lens away and far and close to your face using motors, actually, which
Jeez.
added a lot of problems, as you can probably imagine.
The more
But
moving parts in something, the more points
moving
of
parts,
failure.
yeah, they're loud too. You don't want to hear like
Every time you like look away from something, it's like ring, ring,
yeah,
ring.
exactly.
There's
That'd be
that
terrible.
$8,000 headset that as soon as you put it on, the lenses automatically adjust to your eyes. It's like
Yep.
as soon as you set it on, it automatically tracks where your eyes should be. It's like crazy.
Yeah, well, the half. Do you guys hear about the half dive headset that was announced like last week or something?
No, okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, this is one of the reasons I had you on, is because I am literally just a consumer of VR
Yeah.
content. Like, I have no clue what kind of VR technology is coming unless you know what's funny? I actually, the first video that I watched for the demonstration of the Index was your video, like to
Was it
see.
the?
Yeah, the like the slow demonstration, because I really wanted to see how I really just wanted to be able to do the blood hand sign with my hands, and that was like the first thing I tried when I put on the Index controllers. But then I was like, okay, I can see how this technology could
Yeah,
advance further.
that video surprised me of how many people watched it. Honestly, because again, it's just me slowly doing this. But the biggest complaint from people, because I posted a video before that one, like literally the same day, where I was doing that but faster. And people were like complaining, oh, the finger tracking must be binary, which means like it's either off or on or whatever. So I'm like, no, you idiots. It actually, it's actually detecting pretty like when it's working well how far your hands are or your fingers are from the controller. So I had to make that video, and that video trended pretty well, even though it's like 10 seconds long, but it's still yeah, it's crazy how many doing stuff related to hardware, like showing off hardware or like talking about hardware. It's crazy how many people that are unaware of technology will come into your content and just like say, "Oh, you're wrong," or like "This is impossible," or whatever. So you literally have to rethink how to show off the hardware better, just to prove the naysayers they're idiots, So.
So there were literally people that were like, this technology is not real, or they just like weren't
Yeah.
believing you as you were showcasing the hardware.
They literally thought I was paid by Valve or something. Like I'm not even, I'm totally serious. They're like, dude, this is not special. Like, is Valve paying you? So I'm like, oh, here we go.
God,
All
I
right.
wish Valve was paying
Yeah,
me.
I know, dude. Like they sent me the free controllers by mistake back then, but like still.
Yeah, God, I forget when. So, did VRChat implement the finger tracking as soon as the controllers released? Because I can't remember if there was a lull between when they had the actual tracking and
Surprisingly, I think they were very quick to implement it, which is pretty shocking.
they were really quick. I just can't remember if there was some kind of lull where, they
I think when the Knuckles like officially released, they implemented it, which you have to be aware. The Knuckles were sent out to devs like
Yeah,
up
no.
to 2
I
years.
remember talking to Tupper and them, and they all had the controllers, and
Mm-hmm.
even people who I were like, "How the fuck did you get these controllers?" had
Yeah.
controllers. But yeah, I mean, these are my second pair. These are my second pair, so I
Mm-hmm.
haven't RMA'd them too much, and I think these might have started to get drift. I've seen some artifacts of like, just kind of stepping back. All of a sudden, it's like, well, here we go. But they're way out of the warranty period. I've had them for more than a
Yeah.
year, I think, so I don't think I can RMA these again, which
Do you know what's
is
crazy?
upsetting. What?
Uh, so I will say I have multiple pairs of. So I should say I have one pair of non-consumer Knuckles and two pairs of consumer. And I've had one pair since the release of Index and one pair a year ago, and I've not had any issues with controllers. Everything else, I mean, I've had to replace wires. I've had to replace base stations are actually my killer thing that break for me. But for controllers, I somehow have signed a document with Satan or something because they have been broken for me.
See, okay, we'll go through my index issues here real quick, okay? So I've had to RMA my controllers. I've had to get a new cable. The connections for my headphones cut out whenever I pull on the band. So, it'll like cut out in one ear, and then I'm pretty sure there's some kind of like faulty wiring there
Yeah.
or something. But yeah, that I think I had a bad connection at the front of the cable, so like it wasn't detecting the headset at all. I've had a couple different issues with this thing. And then my Vive, I only had one issue, and it was completely my fault, and that was because the wire would get tangled, and I would, I would do the whole pulling the thing, and then I was like, all right, I'll get another cable, which was it wasn't even under warranty, but they sent me a new one anyways, which was so cool of the guy.
Wow.
And then I bought one of those things to hang it from my ceiling, and then I never had a problem with it again. So I do miss my Vive just a little bit.
I'm starting to see that more and more as we talk more.
Listen, I don't want to hate Valve. I love Valve. It's like I want them to, because they are so new in the technology game, but it's like I would have bought this headset if it was like, $700, but like $1,000 was just such a huge price jump from like what did I pay, like 500, 600 for the I think it was 500 for the Vive whenever I got mine.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, like a full, 2 Vives for one of these just seemed like I should get this thing, and this should be like the next level of VR. And obviously, like, one thing that I love about this is, I mean, the screen door effect is still there, but it's not nearly as noticeable as it was on the Vive. Like, that is such a huge improvement. And the refresh rate was also really, really nice. But aside from that, I just really couldn't justify to myself like why I should recommend this to anyone over, one, just waiting, and two, getting something that's more consumer friendly where they don't have to plug in base stations. That's one thing I really hope dies out, is base stations where we can have some kind of all-in-one tracking, or something that's way more reliable. Because I'm really sick of setting up base stations wherever I go.
That's something Valve has been working on too. They've detailed how that system's going to work in their patents, and it's going to still support base stations for those people who already invested into that ecosystem, but Valve is starting to make the friction less, like everything else. So I think the main reason they want to do that, though, is like I bet you there's people at Valve that still are like, man, base stations are the best, let's keep them. But like the big reason probably why they're starting to shift away into having a hybrid tracking where you can have the choice to use them without base stations is the idea that they want to start doing sort of like their own standalone or like their own wireless VR stuff. So
I have it's really funny. I have a picture my friend has. He set up his VR at an airport where he had his base stations like sitting on top of piles of clothes that he had pulled out, because he was at the airport for like 9 hours. So he just set it up at like 3 a.m. on top of piles of clothes with a laptop and everything. And it's like, all right, if that could be done with the Vive, 5 years ago, I can't wait to see. I mean, I've heard people like on, like on planes with Quests on, playing fucking VR chat. Or it's so weird seeing VR become super mainstream. Like, I played PokerStars VR, which, by the way, if you haven't, it's really bizarre, because it's a bunch of boomers who got like headsets for Christmas from their nieces and nephews or whatever, and then they use it to like curb their gambling addictions by using fake money instead of real money.
Oh my god.
And they get really upset and connected over these, like, and they hate when you get up in their face. Like, it's very, like, they have phantom sense or something. Like, they'll freak out if you touch them. It's really weird. So
I know you're telling me I should check out PokerStars, but hearing that, I kind of don't
No,
want to.
don't check out PokerStars. Whoever is listening, please do not check out
That's
PokerStars. It
crazy.
is a terrible application. Just play poker in the Discord integration. That's a better way to do it. Which, by the way, I really hope that they integrate that soon into just like regular Discord. I don't know if you know that, but they have a Discord games lab where you can go and play like poker integrated into Discord, chess, and then they
Yeah.
just recently did a watch together thing with YouTube.
I just
So you
saw
can.
that. Yeah.
I think that's their kind of like fuck you to YouTube after they killed off what was it, like Groovy Bot, Rhythm Bot, and
Mhm.
all the other bots. So I hate
Compromise.
that. It's
Yeah.
so terrible. We talked about like micro displays, we talked about varifocal lenses. One thing I heard you mention once was like optical flow tracking, and I have no clue
Yeah.
what the fuck that is. So if you could explain that to me.
I'm not gonna explain how it works. I'm just gonna explain the gist
What
of
it does.
Yeah. So, God, this is so. This has honestly been one of the hardest things for me to explain to people because like that's kind of my job is I read patents, I read how the technology works, and then I have to digest it and spit it out to more like, hey, I have 10-year-olds watching my videos. So, no, but like the idea is to have IR emitters either on the headset or the controllers or both, and then have these things called angle based sensitive. Oh God, what's the word? Angle based sensors, and all they do, they're very simple. They just detect which direction the light is coming from, and then you can put them on both the places that have the beacons but are giving off light, and you can put them on the places that are taking the light. And these are very high refresh rate because again they're pretty simple. They're just photodiodes, so they just take in light and then they transmit that light into digital data, and they can do that up to 1,000 to 2,000 hertz, which is a very high refresh rate value
Good
for
lord.
tracking. So, but the really like to explain it the best, like the most simple way to people is these lighthouses that are beaming out IR and laser sweeps to actually calibrate. Actually, all they're let's say what these things are doing. So our controllers and headsets have something called IMUs, inertial measurement units. They're basically like compasses that show which way we're like moving and moving and moving. But by themselves, if they only had IMUs in these headsets, they would basically just drift all the time. They wouldn't be very accurate for tracking. So Valve implements IR and laser suites in their lighthouses with sensors on the headsets and controllers to literally fix that drift. That would be caused by the IMUs. So Valve wants to do that, but instead of lighthouses, basically put the functionality of lighthouses onto the controllers and headset themselves. So
Okay.
that's what
Interesting.
the flow tracking system is. Just imagine
Speaking
plopping a lighthouse on your head and your controllers.
speaking of
So.
Valve, what about the Project Galea thing? What is
Love
that?
Oh, I love Galea. So Galea, I'm glad we get to talk about this because I can talk about more about Apple after I go through a spiel. But Project Galea is a partnership between Valve and OpenBCI. BCI standing for Brain Computer Interface. Plugging into your brain is what people
No,
think
please, no. I don't want anything in my brain, please.
of. No, but what the good thing about Galea and a lot of other systems you're gonna start seeing is they're non-invasive BCIs. So no implants. They just go around your head and they use a bunch of different sensors, either EEG, EMG, sweat detectors. I'm not even kidding. They can literally they have sensors on the face pad that can grab the sweat and see what chemicals are in the sweat. And with
What the
use
fuck?
yeah, and with eye tracking and expression tracking all at once, they literally can tell everything that your brain is feeling emotionally or like it's a way to read your brain without actually plugging into it. Which for Valve, they love this stuff. Like Gabe Newell freaking loves the idea of using the brain to change the way we will live life. But from a gameplay perspective, they even patented a API that already works with the data that something like Project Galea can work with. So they can see if you're happy, aroused, sad, whether you're lying. Like, let's say you're talking to an NPC in like Skyrim,
No, no,
and it can
man,
tell
no.
if you're
We
lying. Like,
can't do
imagine,
that. No.
imagine what that could do for just RPG gameplay. And then there's like imagining like how you're reacting emotionally to like my favorite example I thought of is like I freaking love the Portal games. Like I love GLaDOS speaking to me. Like whenever she speaks to me, I always have chills, right? But imagine if like they were just to do something so simple, like is change the dialogue she says based on your emotional state. So like, let's say you kill the companion cube and the BCI can see if you're happy. Well, GLaDOS can say, "Wow, you're happy about it, you freaking murderer!" Like there's a lot of simple things that can be done with BCIs, and I
Okay,
think
okay. Here's the thing, though.
okay,
Here's the thing.
yeah,
This is similar. You know how you watch those Boston Dynamics videos, the cute robots doing dances
Um,
together and backflips and stuff? This is the cover up for the fact that Boston Dynamics has military contracts.
yeah, yeah,
So
have you
this Project Galea may sound fun. It's like, oh, they can change the dialogue based on what I'm saying, but that technology is
yeah.
going to be utilized by the military against us. Like that
have you
will, regardless
Well,
of if Valve wants it or not, they are going to find ways to
it's gonna
utilize tech
happen, yeah.
technology, and that is just terrifying to me.
No, I get that. I mean,
have you
that's
seen the video of Boston Dynamics robots dancing and everyone thought it was CGI? And the
yeah,
actual people that like break down CGI that do CGI were like, this
yeah,
is literally impossible. This is not
yeah.
CGI. And like every single comment was like, this is CGI, this is fake, there's no way these dancing
Mm-hmm.
robots are real. But it's like, this is scary how fucking
That's like what I was
sophisticated it is.
That's like what I was talking about earlier. Like people who are watching technology videos, they'll just say it's fake. Like they will not be like they always do that. But no, I mean that's true. Like the military, that's the problem with every technology. Like you can make something super cool, but it can always be misused for something. I I I think we should be more scared of in the short term of companies using these technologies to gather even more scary data from our brains to sell, and
Oh
not
yeah,
only
I
just
know.
not even just sell, but oh, you go on.
I I just I would hate, especially in VR, for like, or even AR. That's one of my fears about AR is the ability to implement advertisements and like things without even knowing. Like people wouldn't
Yeah.
even know and they would just be subconsciously within, like, at least whenever I get on my computer, I get on Twitter, I get on my phone, whatever,
Mhm.
I know when I'm being advertised to. But like,
Yeah.
so I read a book called Biology, Buyolgy. I think it's by look it up. I don't want to miss. I think it's Martin Lindstrom is his name or something. But essentially, it was a study into neuromarketing, and it's been found. People always talk about like, oh, like subliminal messaging, things like that. Which subliminal messaging is barely even real because people
Mhm.
know when they're being advertised to.
Yeah.
However, if you take a look at like tobacco companies are the best advertisers in the world
Yeah.
because they'll do things like, so take the Marlboro like colors like red and white. They utilize that. Like they're not allowed to directly advertise Marlboro anywhere, but if you look up the Ferrari F1 car Marlboro, just look up Ferrari Marlboro. Now, this is a really obvious example. Oh, where'd you go?
I'm
I'm,
here.
I'm
Oh,
right here.
he
I'm right
like
here.
sunk under the
I'm just,
table.
I was
No, no,
watching
I
the
no.
got
He like.
stream.
Oh, okay. But yeah, okay. So click on go up, go up, go up. I want to see. Oh, yeah, yeah, right there. Okay. So like, no, 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 no. The one with the like, go back to the regular images or just click on the X. Yeah, that one, that one. So this is a really obvious example of it, but it utilizes the colors of Marlboro on these fast cars in order to
Mhm.
blur them together, and then subconsciously you just see Marlboro. So you don't
Right.
know that you're being advertised to just because these are colors. And Marlboro do
Right.
this too with things called Marlboro bars. They'll pay bars to outfit everything in red and white just to, and they won't ever say the word Marlboro, but it'll just happen. And that so F1 car, like NASCAR, has some of the most brand loyal fans, period. So like it costs more to advertise with NASCAR than it does like during the Super Bowl and things because of how brand loyal they are. And they just utilize that, and then along with the fact that when people are off, they're not on guard for being advertised to, they're like, you know what, I think I want a cigarette, just when they see
Yeah.
those colors. And that's the kind of thing that I really hope doesn't get implemented into VR, is where you just start seeing things that weren't there before, and they're just implemented to where you're just seeing things in the background, and these technologies and
Yeah, like
platforms that you love using
what
just
if
start getting
the
overrun with
sweat? What if
advertising.
these sweat sensors, right? And you're sitting there in your VR headset and you're all depressed one day and you're having a bad day, and these sweat sensors can
Detect the
they
cortisol levels
detect
and
how
whatnot.
sad you are, and then suddenly you start getting advertisements for ice cream, and
Or just, yeah, just
just
whatever,
like something,
just
like anything, like they know your emotional state in the current situation. That's scary, man. Like you
Let me
don't
one up
need them,
you
like
on that.
yeah.
So yeah, taking that example, but there's something I've been reading about, an idea that a lot of companies like Facebook want to implement. I believe it's called experimental advertising. But the idea is we use this data again. You can actually, with just eye tracking alone, you can figure out stuff such as sexual orientation, for example. And using stuff like that, imagine you can change the way games or content is provided to you based on the emotional reaction of the user. So, for example, let's say the sensors can detect that this person is more attracted to men, and then the player's gameplay or content starts having more attractive men according to their likeness. But what also can they do to advertise with that? Well, they can literally change the actual shirt the favorite character is wearing to advertise like a product or something that like more fits into their interests, just to sort of take advantage of their emotional state even further. I mean, you can do that with really anything. That was a very basic example, but like changing the actual content based on the reactions they get from the actual advertising profile, to make the entire world seamlessly become like a giant advertisement without the user knowing. We say that we feel we know we are being advertised to, but honestly, have you guys been to the virtual market, right?
no, I don't go.
You
I
don't
uh,
go.
I so one of the main reasons I didn't go was because one, I never want to purchase anything when I'm in VR. I just really don't
Right.
care. And
Yeah.
then second, the worlds are so big that like by the time I loaded them, all my friends were out to the next VCAT anyways. So it just never felt like. But I do know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
Yes, So the nice thing about VCAT though is it's this isolated, like that you're going to shop when you go
Right.
there. You know that you're looking for something to purchase. So
Mhm.
it's more isolated in that sense than it is something like the Marlboro advertisements, and
Well,
that kind of sense of like things just subconsciously start changing
well,
to where you don't notice them.
Well, what I'm saying is, I love VKit. I think it's very cool. It makes, even though honestly the entire thing is a big giant advertisement. Honestly, it's awesome, and they pull it off very well.
It is
But
really
that being
cool.
said, I want to like point users as an example, like, hey, this is pre-created worlds. But one day, I truly believe when you hear players such as Facebook and literally every giant investor forum and in technology company talk about the metaverse, what they mean is, let's look at what VKit is doing. But instead of making these pre-built worlds, we literally fuse it with imagining how people's emotional states are, and literally implementing into games and changing actively to where people are being advertised to, making everything in the metaverse a shopping experience without the player realizing. I think that's the end goal. And I think that's why Facebook and a lot of companies that are in Facebook's position are dumping a lot of money into the idea of a metaverse, or really just making the hardware cheap and then making back stuff later using a actual advertising profile. Because a lot of people that are getting Quest 2s, Facebook's trying to get the younger audiences, like, because they're not using Facebook, and getting them in early to get a accurate advertising profile for later on plans is very beneficial for them if any of this stuff it gets implemented.
I miss John Carmack, man. I miss when he was in charge of Oculus and it was about VR and the technology. It wasn't about trying to progress this new paradigm shift of how we're going to advertise to people. It's inevitable that every single episode we end up talking about like the conspiracy of VR or some kind of advertising ploy, but it's true. It is a true thing.
It's not a conspiracy.
Yeah, it's not even conspiracy. Like, I know that people think that, like, oh, that's way too far in the future, but no, it's here and it's now. They, like, Facebook years ago started building this thing to where they, that's how they are able to tag you in photos, as they build a 3D model of your head based off of the pictures that you tag yourself in.
Yeah.
So whether you like it or not, like, Facebook has an entire profile of who you are and what you like to do already. And that's what every major company wants to build.
Well, it's like also like by every company switching to this, and like kind of people, including YouTubers, desensitizing why this matters a lot. I don't know if you were around, but Google Glass. Do you remember Google Glass?
Oh yeah, I tried on the Google Glass.
Oh yeah. It was not very good, right?
It's
like,
funny. It was like a little gimmick, and you look like a huge dork wearing them, but it was still in the realm of, like, here's the thing about technology right now, and what I like about VR. I can take my headset off right now.
Yeah.
There's no implementations into my body. There's no like, there's nothing that is just integrated into me that I can't escape. It's something that I voluntarily put on and that I engage with. But once it reaches the point where, like, in the brain, brain computer interfaces. Now, Valve definitely, I think Valve has the best of intentions when they go with this technology. Is they genuinely want to push something that people will enjoy, and that it's something that is a new frontier of gaming. That's kind of what their goal is. But then these other companies that have more nefarious intent see that, and they want to utilize that technology for something worse. And that's just the inevitability of these kinds of technologies. And I don't blame Valve for wanting to do that, but it's like, I don't think that's the route that we should go, especially
every
right
company's
now.
gonna go it. Like, I'm ready. Well, before I go on a little bit, I just wanted to go back to the Google Glass thing. I remember when Google Glass was announced, and like people were talking about, what, these glasses have cameras in them? What? That's what, like, it was all over the news, a huge uproar. People were questioning privacy and everything. It was like a big thing. This was like, I don't know, 2010 or something. Tons of outroar for that. But now we see Facebook, who is arguably even more scary of a company when it comes to privacy than Google was at that time. They released the Ray-Ban stories, and I don't think really anyone like it did not get any uproar about privacy or anything. So when I see stuff like how society has already changed in 10 years about how people see technologies and our really our privacy rights, it's kind of, I don't really have an optimism that we're going to be able to stop a lot of the problems with these technologies in the near future. So yeah, I mean, Facebook can basically do whatever they want, is what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, they essentially form, they act as a government almost because of how much power that they have. I mean, people like they get upset about cameras in Google Glass, but then they don't realize, like, I'm holding my phone right now, this little fucking nightmare rectangle that I look into every day, and I can watch a terrorist group take over a country in real time, and then at the same time they're trying to, advertise whatever I was talking about 10 minutes ago to me. It's just terrifying that this technology has progressed so much to the point where it's become an integration into our lives.
Let's get a little more terrifying. So we were talking about Apple earlier.
Oh no. I thought you were gonna
So-
say let's lighten the mood. Let's get more terrifying. Let's go further. Let's dive
No,
deeper.
I'm sorry that you have this opinion about the scariness of Galea and stuff like that, but it's the next thing. Like it's going to be the next thing. This
Yeah.
is where everyone's going to.
Yeah.
And a big example of this is it's crazy. Like I just live my life, right? But then I get a notification on Twitter about people are like spamming me on Twitter. Hey, an Apple patent came out. Can you can you digest this? And anyway, this Apple patent was talking about their XR headset that they're working on, and the technology is cool. But you know how Apple Watches can get some really really impressive biometric data from our arms with
Oh yeah.
the scanners they have? Well, Apple's like, we can do that with your face and get your emotional level and your actual facial expressions by implementing those sensors to a actual headset. So like a lot of companies are doing this and they see the value in it. Whether it's good or bad, this is where everything's going. The HP Reverb G2 Omnicept has a lot of the sensors that Galea already has. It is eye tracking, mouth tracking, and it has a heart rate sensor built into the headset. And they use that data. They can only calculate cognitive load, which is how overwhelmed you are. But this is a headset that is being sold right now already, and it's just going to get more crazy as every headset's getting eye and face tracking. Because again, eye tracking alone can give you a lot of data about you, but when you pair it with other sensors, it's I think it's some really interesting information about how you're feeling.
It's like a lie detector test strapped to your face.
Yeah,
I think it's a video game. Do you think it's a
Yeah.
video game?
Oh shoot. Here's the thing about, like, let me make a comparison. So
Mm.
back whenever smartwatches were like first becoming a thing, I had a Pebble watch. Do you remember those? The little
I do.
paper, yeah, the paper screen watches. I loved that thing. It did exactly what I needed it to do. It was open source. I could put whatever the fuck I wanted on there, and like it was a watch that had some smart capabilities, and that was about it. And then it just died out because people wanted this newer, better technology. And
Mhm.
the thing is now if you want a smartwatch, you have to make the compromise of your privacy in order to have a smartwatch. And that's how I think VR is going to be. Is like, originally it was about VR and the VR technology, but eventually it's going to get to the point, it's like, look, either you can have this old shitty headset that doesn't work with any of the current software, or you can upgrade to this really nice headset that also measures all of your emotional data and tells us if you're gay or not, and
Yeah,
just
yeah.
all this stuff. It's like you can't escape it. And that's
Mhm.
what's scary to me too, is like people think, well, I'll have a choice in the future. You probably won't. Like this phone, I had to make a compromise to get this phone to,
Yeah.
say like, I want to keep a microphone and camera on me all of the time. Or with my
Mhm.
laptop, I want to have, this thing that it's so easy to track all of this data that, unless, a lot of the cybersecurity experts that I know just keep like fucking, they keep like Blackberries or whatever. They don't have these
Yeah.
technology, or this they don't have new technology. They just try and keep
Well, I think it really shows how easy it is for these tech companies to change society and what is needed to live in modern society. Like you said, we have to make a choice to use these bricks that we hold in our hand that can collect data at us all the time. But if you don't have that, good luck getting an actual job,
Yeah,
right?
good
Like,
luck going through life. I mean, the thing is, and I try to download as many open source applications that I can, but like one of the
Mhm.
main ones for me, it's like Google Maps. Google
Yeah.
Maps has been so useful for everything. I mean, I took a fucking road trip to Texas and to Colorado over the summer, and like I had
Mhm.
to use this thing, and it tells me
Yeah.
when there's crashes. It tells me when there's a speed trap, whatever. Like, this thing is so useful, but it has to track my location data and
Yeah.
send that to the Google servers all of the time. And I have to make that compromise. Otherwise, it's like, what? You want to use a fucking map? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
you just, it's so irritating that you can't escape it. And
No,
that's
and
precisely where it's going.
we were talking about how even like Valve might have good intentions, but like I don't know if you follow Gabe Newell whenever he speaks about anything, but like this man literally believes that BCIs are going to be
I
the
saw
next
that. Yeah, he was
iPhone,
talking to like
basically.
some students about how, yeah,
Yeah, he
he really believes in the BCI technology.
yeah he truly thinks that there will be a like sooner than we think. There will be a point where, just like how I explained, like we need an iPhone, we need a smartphone to get a job, or live today's modern lifestyle. He thinks that BCIs are gonna be like that sooner than we think. So when I see people like that talk about it, I mean, it's hard not to agree. I mean, they know, they usually know what they're talking about because they're deep into this stuff. So
I will say, like, I don't think I will ever, if it becomes a feasible technology, I don't think I will ever put a Neuralink in my brain or any kind of implant. There will be no tainting of my body as far as technology goes. I don't
Mhm.
need any of that. So, like, I'll try on your Project Galea. Sure, I'll see what it does, but there's no way that I'm going to put any kind of chip in my brain. So,
Yeah. I don't know. For me, I think um I'm very I mean I'm very active about being against a lot of things, but when it comes to, I think the fact that I have a very I'm a very technologist, and I really like the idea of early adopting things while they are dangerous. A lot of them, I probably would do it honestly, because like I think about it, like for me, my body, I feel so limited by my body all the time. Like for like I've had a medical history that is pages long and stuff, and like things just want to pop inside my body and stuff. And then like I think about how at the same time I love learning new things all the time. I love doing things. I want to prolong that time, or at least prolong the speed I can do these things. So once BCIs get to the point where like literally I can just learn skills by plugging into a computer to my brain, I would jump on that like crazy for me, because man, I mean I can't even get it takes me a few days to even get figure out how to put a shirt on a VR chat avatar in Blender. I'm still terrible at it. So like, ah,
see,
the
even
educational
that,
values alone.
even if they were like, you can learn skills instantaneously if you put this
Yeah.
thing in your brain, I still would not do it. Like the satisfaction that I get
The
from
human
learning things
evolution that
myself.
would take place immediately. If everybody on the planet had that, and we could all just immediately download any skill, we would immediately evolve to like an alien level civilization where we
Yeah,
are
we
ready
would.
to ascend to the stars because we are hive mind internet understanding every skill. Everyone is an engineer. Everyone is a scientist now. Everyone can do heart surgery. Like that's a different level of human evolution.
But
That's
all right, here's the
crazy.
thing. You want to hear my conspiracy? I think whenever it reaches the point that people will be able to, augment their bodies with technology and implement things, I think that the hyper elite will just become like monks and will just move to places with no technology. In these like mega cities, they
Mm,
will have these monasteries where they
yeah.
have no technology or anything. Because think about it. If they really offered you, like, what is the incentive to teaching you things
Hmm.
instantaneously? Where's the monetary incentive there? They have to have some kind of uh like secret implementation there for like, oh, we're going to make sure that everyone thinks the same way that we want to go, so that way we
Yeah.
can progress our agenda.
Didn't
So
the old guy in that got killed in Cyberpunk 2077, like in that one mission or whatever, he had no augmentations, and he was like one of the richest people in the entire like
see, that's what I'm
the owner of
saying.
Arasaka. He's just like this
Yeah,
old
yeah.
Japanese guy who just has no augs at all, and he's just like, I own everything, and everyone's has all this stuff that makes him so much better than me, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think the future is going to become. Maybe not in my lifetime, but
No, I don't think it's in our lifetime at
yeah,
all.
definitely
So,
not. I hate the idea of mega cities. They're so pointless. I hate skyscrapers. I think
yeah, I
skyscrapers
don't
are
like.
super dumb and we don't even need them. Like logistically they don't make sense. Like do you know
Hmm.
that do you know that the Burj Khalifa has no sewage system in it, so they have to have like these shit trucks line up every single day to pump everything out of the Burj Khalifa. So there's just like a huge line of tanker trucks that has to come every single day. Like
Oh,
yeah.
oh my.
It
That's a great job to have. Be
yeah.
driving those trucks every day. Oh my god.
Dubai is it is the joke that you like think of when you think of the future in the 21st century is this like I think it's like it's the real life equivalent of like shoving all the trash underneath your bed to make your room clean, you know?
Yeah,
But
yeah. I really liked talking about just for a minute of cities. I really liked a lot of Chinese cities I visited when I went there a few times. It really does feel kind of futuristic in a lot of ways, but I think it has a lot to do more with their infrastructure actually being new and like well planned compared to like in cities in America. I hate them. Like I had to go to work in Miami and ugh, I
oh
hate
yeah,
that
trust
city.
me, the roads don't even make sense here. Like it's just we have these essentially like stroads where they're a combination of streets and roads where you're going like 40 miles an hour and then or 40 to 45 and then people are just pulling out of driveways and things and
Yeah,
it's super dangerous and it doesn't make sense, whereas like you should have these two distinct spots. You should have highways to get long distances and then you should have streets where you're going really slow to go park so you can walk, so that way everything is walkable. And that's how it is in Europe, where like
yeah,
everything is very walkable and the streets are very narrow to discourage people from going fast, and like these little market villages, everyone can get places, whereas like if I want to go walk somewhere, I would have to get in my car, go drive to a parking
hmm
lot, which by the way, parking lots are just a huge waste of space. And then, get out and walk across a bunch of different intersections to get to the downtown square area, which is still even surrounded by cars. Like it's
yeah.
very unwalkable. So, but then you look at, yeah, again, like Europe, and it's so much nicer. So I
Yeah, you
wish
see
we
like
could
these
have that kind of implementation here.
like I went to like four different cities and like yeah, two of them were like the biggest major cities in China, but two of them were just like random cities. And they still had like state of the art subway train systems that go like high speeds and stuff like everywhere you want to go. And it's like cheap too. And I'm like, the hell?
Trains? Pfft, what are you talking about? We don't need trains. We have
Oh,
cars.
oh god, I hate it. I hate driving so goddamn much. Oh my lord. All right.
Do you know that like okay, so in I think it was in Romania, like one of the dictators in Romania was like, they were going to design a new subway system and then he was like, "No, I want it alongside the river." And and made
Oh
them
no.
change it. And then they his wife was like looking at the plans and she was like, "Why is there a stop for the subway here?" And the engineers were like, "Well, there's a university there, so a lot of students are going to be moving." And she was like, "No, they're getting too fat. Make them walk." And then they they had to build a subway station in secret. So it's like this super narrow, dangerous one, and that's what they still use to this day because the infrastructure wasn't built for it. And that's like honestly exactly what we're doing here is just like these things that make
Oh
absolutely no
god.
sense for
Mhm.
logistics. I
That is a painful story. I felt cringe in all parts of my body.
Hey, at least the university students are not fat anymore, right? Right? Oh, oh my
Oh
god.
lord.
So I do want to go back to VR a little bit just to cover all of the bases.
Yeah, yeah.
So is PlayStation coming out with a new VR headset sometime soon?
Oh yeah. Everyone's saying that late next year probably. I would probably agree with that. They've already. Well, interesting thing is they're using the same supplier for making their lens as Oculus is for their next VR headset, so that's kind of interesting. But Yeah, I mean, I think Sony is going to kill it, like absolutely blow it away when it comes to something that is manageable for gamers to want to get into. Some like actual. So when PSVR came out, for example, that thing was honestly like when it came out, it was already outdated when it comes to PSVR. Like I hate to
Yeah.
say it, but it was just like it was something that a low R&D team put together, and it was also using old hardware to do all the computation for it. So when it released, it was just old.
It was
That
very
being said,
comfortable though.
it was very comfortable, and they sold a ton of units. Like it's actually insane how many they sold of that headset. Software really drove that. But imagine if that headset back then was state of the art for like used all like a huge Sony R&D budget. Still had great games coming out, maybe even more AAA work done. Like even if they just add like some AAA VR experience to games that are normally flat, they would sell a killer amount. And that's basically what seems to be happening for their next headset. They have incredible R&D from all their teams. They've figured out some amazing technologies. Again, we talked about the micro displays, but like technologies that would end up going into the PS5 came from the PSVR 2 R&D team. Like the triggers that everyone talks about, the adaptive triggers for the was it DualSense? That came from actual R&D from the PSVR 2 team. Another thing is the audio. They have like a very special like 3D audio going on in the PS5 and stuff. That also came from the team that's been working on PSVR 2. And you have all these teams that are just working together, OLED micro displays, all this stuff, and they're just gonna kill it. I swear. Like when that thing releases, it's gonna be like when it releases, it's gonna be very comparable to the competition, if not ahead of the competition, if they use those special displays. I think it's gonna be insane. Honestly, I think I think Facebook should be a little bit worried, a little bit.
The DualShock controller is honestly one of the like it's probably one of the best feeling controllers I've ever held. I've never
Yeah,
felt the PS5 controller. I don't know. I've heard people praise it a lot, so I would
I think it's
assume,
better. Yeah,
yeah. Um, so I am excited to see how ergonomic and comfortable that they make that headset because, like, yeah, I had the PlayStation VR and it was okay. Like, it was very much uh, like a demo kind of
hmm
what VR technology could be. It's like, hey, here's kind of your first taster, a dip in the water. But I I I loved like honestly it was more comfortable than this index really. Like if it
yeah.
had like the strap technology, I wish they would they would use the same strap style that they did with the PlayStation VR because this one does get a little bit like cinching on my face after a while, so I have to kind of like pull it and adjust it. And that's one thing that I really hope gets ironed out very quickly is the form factor of VR because like with controllers for example they had years and years before the DualShock 4 and 5
hmm
to design something that was just so ergonomic. Like yeah, take
Yeah.
like a keyboard and mouse a lot of people like that, but at the same time there's something so nice about having something that was designed specifically for your hands because
hmm
believe it or not, people who love keyboard and mouse, that thing, the keyboard was designed back in like the 1800s and we still use the same one today and it was not designed for gaming. But that's kind of like with VR technology to me, like I really hope that these things just get more and more ergonomic and comfortable to wear to the point where like I can wear this thing and do a fucking backflip and it would still stay on my head and I would still feel comfortable in it. Watch these people do dances in VR. Have you ever seen someone do a backflip in VR?
Yeah, yeah.
Dude.
I work with Thrill Seeker, so I see it every other day.
Speaking of wireless, when is the new Index going to be wireless?
Yeah, for sure. Whether it be like
An
so,
add-on or
yeah, I'm not sure yet if it's gonna be an add-on or built in. It seems like they might want to actually go full in with this, like God, it's gonna take a while to talk about. Let's say that for a minute. I want to touch back a little bit on like before we go into that topic is Yeah, so the PSVR, I keep wanting to say PCVR. PSVR, it was light, and the strap design was good because it was light. There was not much actual like stuff on board there. They honestly had a light, a phone display, and a bunch of plastic with some like, earphones or whatever. And that's all I needed because all the other stuff was done through the link box and on the PS4 and the PS4 camera. So due to that, it was able to be light, even though the screen on it was pretty large. That being said, if they do use OLED micro displays, you will see at least 1/3 weight difference between, like, okay, 1/3 of the weight, or maybe at least a half of what the index weighs on your face. I say that number very confidently because there are headsets already being released with just OLED micro displays and next generation pancake optics that advertise 1/3 weights. They're only sold from Chinese markets because
How much does the index weigh?
it's like, was it 800 grams or
Look it up.
something?
Dreams, look that up. Let's see. Because this thing is heavy. Like it does
It's
get
front heavy, too.
weighting
Yeah.
on your neck after a while. 809 grams. Okay.
Yeah. Look up while you're there. Look up a headset weight. What's it called? ARPARA.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I watched your video on this from the Arpara or whatever it is. That thing.
So this is a headset that already has pancake lenses and is using OLED micro displays.
200 grams. Are
Mhm.
you serious?
I'm serious.
That's a 600 gram weight difference. How
Yeah.
the fuck is that possible?
Displays.
What
Not even
makes
kidding.
displays so heavy? Like how do you
They're big.
remove
They're-
that much weight?
They're big. These displays are heavy and they're big, and they also require since they don't have their own silicon backplane, they require a board that you have to add onto it as well to do all the actual display connection to it. But OLED micro displays are tiny, and they have a board attached to them because you build the display onto the board. So yeah.
So, do you know about like Best Buy TV syndrome?
Mm-hmm.
You think that's going to become a thing with new VR technology? It's just going to be like, this is too much. Like, this is way too nauseating because of how like vibrant and intense it is, and the higher nit displays and all that stuff.
So I think the thing is, I think there will be a point, of course. In fact, I think we've kind of okay. This is gonna be very confusing. We kind of hit that already. For some headsets on the market right now, and the one I think of right away is the Vive Pro 2. I really don't like that headset. It is a 5K panel, but it's using LCD panels, and it's they're large and they're heavy and they're very bright. But because they're so large, heavy, and bright, and they're using pretty much the same optics as a lot of other headsets, they add a lot of weight and they make your face feel like you're burning. It gets really hot. To the point where if anyone who has a Vive Pro 2, they might notice that their brightness automatically adjusts based on what they're looking at. Because if they kept it at full brightness all the time, people would be incredibly uncomfortable. And the only reason they did that is because they wanted to advertise a 5K display in a market that hasn't really seen that yet. Next year, that's going to change. But when we get to like actual good displays that are also giving high resolutions at the same time as making the friction and weight less, yeah, we're probably going to see that. I don't know what resolution that'll be. I think I see people talking about how they think 8K per eye will be that point. I'm not sure. But I think for resolution, yes, we will reach that point. It's going to be obnoxious. For nits, probably not. Well, okay. Nits in VR, probably. But nits in AR, no. For FOV, that's probably going to be the big thing people are going to be focusing on after we figure out the issue with the weight problem with displays. But nits, the big thing about making displays with higher nits other than HDR, which these new lenses I've been talking about that are going to make like varifocal lenses and stuff, they rely heavily on the brightness values that these displays give off. The higher nits these displays give off, the more modulation you can do, because literally all these lenses are these lenses are becoming so advanced that they're actually altering the optical path using software between the display and your eyes. And the more nits they have, more brightness they have to work with, the better the quality that's going to be. Not only for just like making varifocal possible, but actually a lot of artifacting can be removed that we don't even notice happens when we play VR, but they are happening. A lot of that artifacting, if we get rid of it, motion sickness will be even less noticeable and stuff like that. So that was a long answer. I'm really sorry, but that was a very loaded question in a way. Like,
Yeah.
I know you didn't mean it, but like, there is going to be a point with resolution. For everything else, I don't really think so, actually.
You
Too
remember
much.
when people thought like the Pimax was the next big thing, and then it just like completely dropped off because
Some people swear by it, like some people swear by their HTC Vive ones. So, you know.
you've tried the Pimax, right?
Yeah, I actually just tried another one again a couple weeks ago. I don't like them, honestly. I don't.
Yeah. Don't they have like 12K per eye or something like that, or something ridiculous?
They have like an 8K headset. I don't think that's per eye though. That's just like 4K per eye. But it's weird because it's very weird because they're measuring diagonals of the screens, and because they have a wide FOV, they also have very wide screens. So it's like it's hard to measure the actual resolution compared to other VR headsets. But the biggest issue I have with Pimax, and I know there's a lot of people that again really love Pimax. I'm just not one of those people. Is the FOV is wide, and that's it. And due to the fact that it's wide and that's it, there's very strange distortion for most software that looks terrible for me personally. Like I can't stand it. They've been trying to make the software better. Like Pimax comes with this thing called PyTool, that's like retroactively trying to fix the image for people, but like it's not worth it for me. Like I really don't like it. I actually like my vertical. I like vertical FOV more than wide FOV actually more. I think it's a lot more natural.
Yo, IMAX movies in VR, yeah. That's the future, man. Yeah, there's like, it's weird how it went from like 2 to like 30 different companies making VR headsets, and especially like the trackers. How many companies are making new trackers? Because it used to just be like either you have the tracker, like the Vive trackers, or you get Kinect. That was the only two ways. And now there's like 20 different companies that have all made Kickstarters for new tracking things, and then HTC came out with 3.0 tracking, and then the mouth tracker and all that stuff.
It's almost like the people that's been saying that like the presence of full body tracking and that hardware can improve software immersion, they weren't crazy, because it seemed like I would actually think the pandemic for this huge new interest in full body tracking. I think the pandemic did a lot for VR in general, which is terrible to say, but I think that's just the way it is. People realized, wow, we can literally live our lives talking to our friends with full body movements in VR. And then they start looking at people who invested in the full body trackers, which honestly got a spotlight during this time because people are literally dancing and doing backflips, like you say, and people see that. And as more people get it, the interest exponentially grows. So, of course, then you start seeing people who are getting into Quests and stuff. And then people who have Quests, they don't have Lighthouse, and we see a lot more ways to get into full body tracking because they don't have Lighthouse. So it's like a domino effect problem. I'm so happy, by the way. Like I can't tell you how happy I am that everyone is looking into full body tracking. A lot more people are getting into it because there's cheaper methods, there's alternate methods without Lighthouse. I think that's amazing because that will solve the chicken and egg problem that plagues a lot of VR. But like if more content gets full body tracking, man, oh my god. And then we have Oculus that apparently well, not apparently, will probably have eye and face tracking, which means even more apps are going to have built-in eye and face tracking, which I think is the next step after full body tracking. Oh, I'm so happy. Like VR presence has come, and it's getting better, and it's getting better fast. It's so important for VR. I think presence in VR is one of the most important factors that so many people don't talk about, and it's crazy to me because it's like that's the main goal of VR is to improve presence. So
I hope
Yeah.
with this technology improvement for the full body that it comes with more applications that will allow it, like you said, because the thing is, to me, is like I have full body. It's just I don't
Mm.
ever use it. I have the 2.0 trackers and I really don't have any reason to, because the only real practical application is like, do you want to see me sitting down or standing up in VR?
Yeah.
In VR chat. Whereas like I wish that there was like, you know, like a Dance Dance Revolution game or you know, like car driving or just something to implement the feat that wasn't super buggy, that it has actual applications. And so I really want that this new wave of full body to bring developers to be like, okay, maybe we should actually start implementing this into our games, or you
Yeah.
know, people will be like, hey, I can start making games that utilize this.
Well, could you imagine Boneworks if it had full body tracking? How insane that game would be. Like honestly, I think the worst
I
parts of
I didn't
Boneworks.
I've
like
imagined it
Boneworks.
for a long time, and I think about it a lot. It makes me sad.
I just couldn't get into Boneworks. I played for like 20 minutes and I was like, I don't know.
All right, no, let's talk about that. What, like, no, I'm not, I don't, I like Boneworks, but I don't praise it as much as a lot of people do. Why didn't you get into it?
I don't know. It just wasn't. It seemed like more of a tech demo than it was anything that like something I could get engaged with. Because if I'm in VR and like most of the things that, you know, I've played Pavlov, or I've played like hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades, and I'll do that for like 10 or 15 minutes. But it's so hard for me to
Mhm.
be able to like commit to something, especially like Half-Life Alyx. I played
Yeah.
through quite a bit of Half-Life Alyx, and that was cool, but at the same time it's like it needs to have a really engaging story, or some kind of motive for me to keep going, whereas Boneworks was just like, hey, look, this is what you could do in VR games, is what that felt like.
Okay, no, I think that's I think a lot of people have that. I don't think that's a wrong thing to feel at all. I think
I hope it's not.
no, I've talked about this with a lot of people because I would tell people like,
I
yeah,
think it's a
Boneworks.
wrong thing.
Okay, no,
I
it's a
love
very
Boneworks.
well, it's like if you ask people what their favorite VR game is, you can tell instantly their opinion on it, whether they say Half-Life Alyx or they say Boneworks. Like Half-Life Alyx are the people that, again, like you're saying, they love the story element, or like an actual narrative reason to keep playing, as well as polished gameplay. Whereas Boneworks, people are like, I really love all the insane physics interactions. That's enough for me. That really just brings me to the next level. That's what VR should be. Um, so wait, what was your full opinion of Half-Life Alyx? Is that your favorite VR game, or is it another game?
See, that's the thing, is like it's really hard for me, just games in general, honestly, for me to get into
Hmm.
games in general. Like a
Okay.
lot of the games that I play tend to be thing like if you've ever heard of a game called like Devil Daggers, or Post Void, or things that are just essentially just high score games, you know, where I can
Oh,
like play
okay.
for 15 minutes and I don't have to commit to it.
Right.
So for as far as like stories go, I have to be really committed to it. Like I think the last game that I actually just sat down and played all the way through was probably Breath of the Wild. Like that's how far
Okay.
back that goes. And I played that when the Switch came out. So
Yeah.
it you know, those are things I just like. You should not talk to me about video games. Like I play
Yeah. It
video
sounds
games,
like
but
it.
I'm not
No.
like yeah. But I'm not honestly, like my mom is more a gamer than I am. She's like
Oh
400
man.
she's like 400 hours on Animal Crossing. She played all the way through Stardew Valley like twice. She played Fallout 4 all the way through.
I have a very interesting question now, because this is interesting.
All right.
So well, first let me just premise saying I love Half-Life Alyx. That's my favorite game. I love everything about it. And
I hit a nerve, Dreams. I struck a nerve and now
Me
I'm
too,
paying the
man. I'm over
consequences.
here just shaking my fucking head like, how can you say these goddamn things? How could you not complete that game? Like, what's wrong with you? No, I'm gonna be the one to give you the shit.
All
'Cause
right,
he's
listen.
the
All right,
guest.
to anyone who
Fuck you.
to anyone who is watching. All right, this is how you can immediately like disregard my opinion. Okay, is I did not play all the way through Half-Life 2. All right, there we go. You can immediately disregard anything that is coming out of my
part
mouth
did you stop
regarding this
at?
game. I don't remember. I played it like
Okay,
10
all
years
right.
ago.
Yeah, you've lost all hope. All right. Anyway.
Man,
All
I
right.
didn't get
You know what you
expect
have
to
to
get
do
shit
now
on.
tonight, right? You know what you're doing tonight. You're playing that game and you're finishing it
Um,
because you've just said it aloud on your podcast, and
I
you
know,
just
to
put that
probably hundreds
target
of
over your
people. There are
fucking
probably
head.
going to be hundreds of people now who know that I've never played all the way through Half-Life 2.
Well, luckily
And you
someone.
play Half-Life sounds of your soundboard. Like, what?
Luckily,
Wait
someone.
for me.
But
Someone
here's the thing:
God.
I have a ton of time on Gmod, so that's where I
Okay,
spent
alright.
most of my time, as
Do you
far
know
as
about
source
Sandbox?
games. Okay, let's talk about that because I have no
Okay.
clue what it is. All I know is it's that it's a spiritual successor to Gary's Mod, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's literally that is built on Source 2, which is the same engine that Half-Life Alyx is built on. Except so Gary's mod was built on Source 1, which is the engine that Half-Life 2 was built on. Talk about your madness. But yeah, no, Sandbox is literally that, except they are doing even more to where the point where really it's not really good to look at Sandbox as a okay, I will constantly call it a sequel to Gary's Mod, like Gary's Mod 2, because that's what gets people to understand like what it is. But honestly, it's more than that. It's honestly like allowing people to make their own game modes and games within the Source 2 engine because there's no Source 2 SDK, for example. That's not public. Valve has not said anything about releasing that. But you just buy Sandbox, and when it releases, there will be a ton of game modes, both VR, non-VR, and a mixture between the two that you'll be able to play for free because a bunch of people want to make content. And eventually, I think the idea is to sort of do a Roblox a model for people
You
that want to
just
do
got me
that.
so excited. Like, I didn't realize this. Now I'm like,
Yeah.
I used to like it's Gary's mod too. Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Well, I'm
yeah,
not
look
into
up-
Gary's
what-
mod,
what
but now
is
you're
it?
telling me like, oh wait, VR servers.
It's
I
VR.
could make my own
look
version of Boneworks with like
We you know what
rubber
else?
guns.
Dreams. Look it up. It's S ampersand
Yeah.
box.
And you know what's also cool is we got full body tracking working in it already.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah. My
Oh,
my friend,
boy.
my very close friend, his name is Gaverados. He does a lot of stuff in that, and I mean we someone's building Boneworks in Sandbox right now too. They're basically rebuilding all like the guns in Sandbox. We have this avatar you see me in, literally. We have it in Sandbox for full body tracking, like and it works and everything.
You
So
know what
like,
you know what I hope? I hope, if nothing else, that I don't know what compression algorithm that they use for the microphones in Gary's mod, but it is so hilarious, and I hope that they keep it in Sandbox because, like, I've looked
Oh, no.
for months and months to know how I can make my microphones sound just like regularly sound
Oh,
like
I don't
Gary's
want
mod.
to tell you the truth about this. Oh no.
But oh no, is it better quality?
It's better quality. I'm
no!
so sorry. I'm so sorry they made things better, sir. Oh my god.
no! Why? Listen,
yeah, no.
Gary's Mod is a perfect game, so I'm excited to see how they take that and push it into the next
I mean,
generation.
I love the Source 2 engine.
I don't know if I like these like Kerbal Space Program models.
Well, the good thing about that is any game mode can either use whatever model they want. That's just the default model right now. And since it's still heavy in development, that's what most
Yeah, it's the
games use.
Kleiner. It's like the Kleiner model
Yeah.
from Gmod. Like everyone starts out with just the Kleiner minge bag model.
Right. Exactly. So the hope for some people is like literally rebuild the idea of VR chat in Sandbox. So it'd be like better the optimization for VR in Source 2 is insanely well. That alone like is really good. And I don't know if you like I did a lot of Half-Life Alyx mapping last year when the tools came out for that, and 3 of the maps I made are on the top of that workshop. But anyway, the lighting in Source 2 is amazing. It's not paralleled by anything except maybe Unreal Engine 5's Lumen system, but like
Really?
it's really good. And like you can make like if you had Source 2 lighting in this map, it would make it look like 100 times better, like honestly.
You see,
So.
that's his way of saying our map looks like shit. Dreams.
No,
We
no,
gotta
no.
fix
It's just
it.
it's
You
limited
hear that,
by the
Bornado? You
Unity
gotta bake the
lighting.
lighting better.
Oh my
Fucking
god.
idiot. Can't believe it.
Unity lighting pixel is dog shit,
no, dude.
and you're
Unity
never
is
gonna
just
get it.
yeah.
No,
Unity
it's
is just
no.
dog
Yeah.
shit in general.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dog
And we
shit
are
things.
limited.
I'm
by
sorry.
that
I'm sorry
on this podcast.
to whoever to whatever VR chat dev is watching this. But I'm sorry. Unity is
I
pretty
mean,
dog shit sometimes.
everyone kind of knows that Unity's lighting is just very behind. So it's not. I don't feel like I'm offending anyone saying that. So
Yeah. That's cool though. I'm really. Do we know any kind of time estimate for when it's
Well,
releasing?
So they delayed it. I think they were originally planning to open it early access late this year, but yeah, they
I'm so sick of these delays, man. I just want my shit now.
just know like a lot of people have gotten access recently because again, since it's really just an engine and they need people to create for it before they launch it. Every day I go on, there's something different and something new already. So when it does release, there's gonna be a ton of amazing content to try out. So
I cannot wait because I've always said there needs to be some kind of Gary's mod in VR. So that literally here we go.
Literally.
Here it is. That's literally Gary's mod in VR. You're welcome. Thank you, Source. Do you think we'll ever be able to reach like warehouse scale VR technology to where like you can have like multiple people in the same, or at least like really close? I know that's inevitable that we'll be able to do that, but as far as the timeline for it, you know, like if
Looks
you
like
want,
we already have it.
really?
Yeah. So I can give both the Quest 2 and Lighthouse 2.0 can technically do that different ways. Do you know about Space Pirate Arena?
I do not.
Well, it's literally what you're talking about. It's basically laser tag in VR, and it uses one warehouse sized or tennis court sized space with two players, and they can literally run around each other, and it generates an actual map with walls. So you kind of need a very large warehouse space to run around, and then it syncs up the player models with the real models in real life. So like it's literally laser tag in VR with the same play space. And that came out like a couple weeks ago, so I don't blame you for not knowing what that is. It's pretty new, and that just uses the Quest 2's camera system. Another thing is, you probably didn't know this, but you know those lighthouses that we were kind of saying are old tech. If you have 4 of them, at least 4, in like a warehouse-sized space, you can have unlimited amount of index headsets basically.
Yeah.
tracked
Wait.
with them.
Headsets? You can have. Oh
Yeah.
shit! I thought you were gonna
As
say
long as
like
they're not
space.
occluding each other, they literally can have like obviously those headsets, they all need their own computer to do the processing
Yeah.
or whatever for them, but like literally you can have 4 headsets in a warehouse sized space, or not, no, 4 lighthouses in a warehouse sized space, and all of the headsets are using the same exact markers for the tracking. So
I had a friend. I don't remember. This was back in like late 2018, but I had a friend who had some kind of like industrial VR setup. Do you remember the box, that world? No, you don't. You don't remember the box in VR chat.
yeah, probably not.
Okay, it's just this gigantic mirror that runs like the whole span of the world. It's supposed to be like an optimized world where you could, you know, have a bunch of people in it and it wouldn't
Right.
dip your frame rate. But he could run from one end of the mirror to the other. He had like a hammock set up in the middle of this warehouse and
gosh.
everything. He never once like touched his actual fucking locomotion. You know, he would just move, like actually move. That's one thing I really hope improves with VR is locomotion.
Locomotion's still a mess, and I don't really know how we solve it easily.
Treadmills, bro. You get your VR treadmill.
I don't like Yeah,
I hate treadmills. I hate treadmills.
Yeah, I don't like them either. I really don't. They don't feel natural, no matter how many times
Imagine
I use
getting
them.
bundled on the cord and then tripping and then getting all
Yeah.
tangled up and rolling on a treadmill with the VR headset just wrapping around your throat, and you're like technologically just fucked into the dirt.
What also sucks about them is like you're strapped into them. Like I don't want to be strapped into stuff when I'm playing VR. That just feels like counterintuitive. Like completely. Like I don't like them. I know some people love them. I had my friend try his first treadmill and he liked it. That being said, he only tried it for 20 minutes, but like, man, I don't, I can never get into them. So
When do you think you just made me think of something? Do you think we're ever gonna reach the point where houses are gonna start be like they're gonna be built with like a VR space in mind, to where
yeah,
it's
I
like
do. I do think that's gonna be a thing for
oh,
sure.
that's scary. That's really scary. That it's like here's my instead of the man cave, it's like here's my VR room, and imagine it's gonna be like standardized, so that way they can start building it to where like spaces are going to be like uh they'll be very uniform. You'll be able
Yeah.
to move around it without worrying about your space being set up incorrectly. So
Well, it's already crazy to me how many like every week I'll go on Reddit and I'll see a new post upvoted to the maximum of just someone showing their VR space, right? And it's just an empty room in their house. I feel as VR becomes more mainstream and more useful, we are just gonna see people think of a room in their house as a VR space, and that's just a domino effect from there.
but I mean, like, do
I
you think it's gonna be like how there's one size fits all for like a
probably
like a
not.
bathtub space, to where like usually people build a bathtub, or like a fridge, like a standard
Yeah.
fridge size, to where that fridge will fit in there. It's
Well,
like
well,
here's a standard VR space that most games have adapted the space to work with.
I think for that to happen, the class system of the economic class system would have to disappear. So yeah, I don't think this is
That
happening.
sunk really quick. It became less about VR and more just your cat. Well, I think people need to ascend in their caste system in order
Yeah,
to
I mean, honestly, that's
God damn it. Yeah, I'm simultaneously terrified and excited for the future, which is a very weird feeling.
no, I think that's a relatable. Like for someone that loves technology and literally like spends every freaking hour of my day right now looking up what companies are working on as the next thing. I love it, but I'm also terrified. So it's not. I think that's being human, and I think that's what we should keep doing, is being afraid of the connotations, because if we're not afraid of the connotations, corporations and governments are going to take advantage of us very quickly. So
Oh man, I'm fucking blink. Okay, so why is it that VR technology has improved so drastically, but then Steam VR has like not improved at all over like 5
Oh,
years? Why is it just
yeah.
stagnated completely? Because I still get the same exact bugs that I did 5 fucking years ago. It makes no sense to me.
No, the main reason is, do you know so Valve, this is kind of a meme. I don't know if you ever heard of this meme, but Valve is a small indie company. Have you ever heard that meme?
No, I have
No?
not.
Okay. A lot of people that play other games, they always say that because this is what players feel when their game's not updated. Like TF2 community probably, people literally have suicide notes with written stuff like that. But like yeah, like they're not like Facebook. They don't hire a ton of people for their company. They keep it small so that they can keep the way they work on things efficient, which is, I don't know if you know how they work on things, but they basically have a no boss system, whereas anyone can work on whatever project they want and they can change between projects whenever. That being said, SteamVR 2.0 has been something that's been hinted at from Valve since like mid last year. Why have we not seen SteamVR 2.0 yet? What is SteamVR 2.0 going to mean? It's going to mean a lot of things. Do you know that Steam Deck that was recently announced with SteamOS 3?
Yeah.
Like, do you know what Big Picture Mode was at one
Yeah.
point? Big Picture Mode is still the basis for Steam VR, even though Big Picture Mode was not created for VR and it was created literally 10 years ago and has been updated since then.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Well, that's about to change. Because they are working on Steam Deck and SteamOS 3, they completely redesigned and rebuilt the Big Picture Mode. So thinking about that, they've been working on this. Why would Valve update Steam VR when also OpenXR also is going on in the background. We can talk about OpenXR later. But like, why would Valve update SteamVR if it's built on something that they already abandoned and they're about to completely update, and then they can rebuild the new SteamVR off of the new thing they're building up, because again, they are limited about the amount of people are working there. So that's really the main reasons why SteamVR is a buggy mess. I think when they're done with all the Steam Deck and Steam OS stuff and all that stuff trickles down to other projects, SteamVR is going to have a much better UI. It's going to have a lot less bugs. It's going to be built on FNXR with some OpenVR still, because they need to support all their older systems. So it's just keep waiting, because again, they've already hinted at SteamVR 2.0. It's going to be a big new user experience. It just takes time for these things to work. So,
Are you getting a Steam Deck?
yeah, I already pre-ordered one. I get first wave, thank God.
Yeah, I have a friend who's getting 2 of them. So I'm gonna take one of them from. It's the biggest and baddest one. So
Same, yeah.
I asked Tupper like if he's gonna use if he's gonna plug in his VR to play on the Steam Deck, and he was like, I'll probably try it once, but it definitely isn't like spec'd for that, and I don't think it. But I'm like, if they can design the Oculus Quest with a Snapdragon in there to do the things that it's doing, you can most definitely optimize games that are playing at 60 FPS, AAA games playing at 60 FPS on essentially a tiny laptop, like being able to plug in your VR to that. I'm sure that developers will try and optimize it for that, because holy shit, do you know how awesome it would be if I can play like PC VR quality by plugging a USB-C cable into the bottom of my Steam Deck, putting it in my backpack, and then putting an Oculus Quest on my head? Hopefully not an Oculus Quest in the future. I hate Facebook. Please, please, please make another standalone headset or something that is better than the Quest.
I think that's what they're working on. Like, I think all the work they've put into Steam Deck is literally all the work they're putting into the standalone compute unit for the Index 2. They have literal patents talking about this, like using this. It's a lot more. and people say I'm crazy, but like a lot of this stuff has been leaked in strings. Like all this stuff they're working on. They have drivers built specifically for experimental things for VR, that a Valve employee literally makes his own drivers for Linux for Steam VR, and it's just like, again, if they're putting all this R&D into Steam Deck, and we get something a little bit more powerful than the APU in Steam Deck, because the APU in Steam Deck is actually already going to be a little bit outdated, especially the CPU in it. They can definitely implement it and optimize it for VR. They just won't care to, because they're probably going to release a VR product later on. And everything they're learning, because really the Steam Deck is actually shaking the industry a lot right now. Today just announced, Easy Anti-Cheat just announced they have full Linux and Proton support starting today, which was like the biggest hurdles for Linux gaming, was all these anti-cheats, and most games already work on Proton. I actually use Linux a lot because I've been wanting to do a huge video talking about this topic, but just by releasing the Steam Deck, a mainstream device, it's making all these developers and the rest of the industry be like, oh, well, maybe we should start looking at Linux and like all the benefits of an open source like ecosystem and stuff, and like actually update our games to work better on this. So when they get the mainstream following, they can just come in with an actual Index compute unit that runs on pretty much the same stuff, but is actually optimized for VR, and then all the stuff they learned from the mainstream people and all the people that got interested during then, they can just do it for the niche crowd, which is VR. And another thing is, do you know Cloudhead Games? They made Pistol Whip. They made they pretty much only made VR games. They just got their dev kit a couple days ago, which is pretty fun because they're going to be testing out getting their games working on Steam Deck. We're not even talking about Index compute unit, but like, yeah. I think there's huge value in making a standalone compute unit, like you said, that can run PCVR games, even if it's like dropping all the graphics up to a more standalone expectation. But there's value
So you're telling me that the Steam Deck is encouraging more developers to develop for Linux, which means that more people are going to be using Linux? No.
Oh,
I don't-
okay. I should. No, I should say. Actually, Valve tells people not to develop a Linux build of their games. They tell people to make sure that do you know what Proton is?
Uh-uh.
Okay, so Proton allows Linux to play any Windows game, any,
Oh, okay.
and it's not an emulation, and it does not like lose any FPS rate at all. And it's something that Valve has been working on for like a few years now. Like this is a few years project, and it's the only reason that Steam Deck exists because Steam machines came out or were trying to come out 10 years ago, but the big issue with Steam machines is it never took off because it required every developer to make a Linux build of games, and no one cared enough to do that. But if a Linux-based computer comes out and can play any Windows game, which is every game on the Steam store, with almost no issues, then they can literally retry that all over, and that's what they're doing. Because there's a lot of benefits to for Valve to switch to Linux as like their main operating system for their own products because they have more control of what they can do. They don't have to worry about Windows updates breaking all of their products or all of their Steam stuff. Like they're
Yeah, speaking of, don't download Windows 11. That's terrible. That's so dumb. I hate Windows 11. Did you see that Sega was like recommending people to like not download Windows 11
Oh,
because
really? Oh my
Fantasy
God.
Star Online just straight up breaks on it doesn't even work. So they were like, don't download it at all. Like they
Oh,
told
man.
us that 10 would be the last one. It doesn't make sense that they have to
Marketing.
just fundamentally change the operating system that we all work on. I hate
It's
it.
still built on. It's still basically Windows 10. Actually, like honestly, Windows 11.
I know, but
they just,
the things that they're, I don't know. It seems like they go through this round of like,
it's a marketing thing, honestly.
Windows XP was good, Windows Vista was bad,
Yeah.
Windows 7 was good, Windows 8 was bad, Windows 10 is good, and then Windows 11 is bad. So it's like maybe Windows 12, or I hope that they just start like I wish that they would just implement these things into Windows 10 instead of making it Windows 11.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if like someone that was working on that was like worried, hey, if we change the UI and keep it as Windows 10, a lot of people are gonna be very mad for some reason. So they're like, hey, let's just rename it to Windows 11 then. Because functionally, like the actual under the hood stuff, Windows 10 and 11 are like exactly the same, except for the requirement of a TPM chip. So
I miss Windows 7. I loved Windows 7, man.
yeah,
It was so good.
I miss it too. I do.
So, okay, before I forget, one thing I do
Yeah.
want to talk about, because we both mentioned Sennheiser. Are you
Oh.
an audiophile?
No, I can't say I'm too much an audiophile. Anyone that's watched my videos and like heard my microphone audio would probably attest to that. So
Well, okay, it doesn't necessarily mean your mic quality, but as far as like,
Mhm.
music listening goes and appreciation, like have you kind of dipped your toes into hearing things in a new
Oh,
light?
no.
You see, your expertise lies in VR, but for me,
Yeah.
you're on my turf now. We're talking
Mhm.
about audio equipment.
Well, it's unfortunate that I'm not so picky on audio because audio adds a lot to VR too. Like honestly, like the better the audio is, the more immersed you're gonna be in VR. But honestly, I don't actually listen to that much music. Honestly, like so I think due to that, I never really cared to. I do use Sennheiser headphones though because I like them a lot. I like how comfortable they are. I like open stage headphones a lot. I hate was it closed back?
You know what's
I hate
funny
that.
is you're like, okay, so I'm using the Sennheiser HD250s right now, which are
Okay.
monitor headphones, and then I have that plugged into the Scarlett Focusrite Solo.
Okay.
And essentially, what that allows me to do is I can turn on direct monitor so I can hear my voice, and I know exactly how loud I'm talking and how far I should be from my microphone to get the best, keep it a fist from your face,
Yeah.
whatever. So these are really great for this, but they're not necessarily great for music listening, unless you're doing some like mixing or DJing or something where you need some serious sound isolation. Whereas like open backs
Yeah.
are great for music listening because they do what's called sound staging, where you can literally hear a song and you can point to where the instruments are on stage. It sounds
Right.
much more like listening to speakers than it does like you're listening to two drivers that are put up right next to your ears. And they tend to also be moved back a little bit further whenever you have these open backs, so that way they give a little bit more distance. Because you have like the over ear and the on ear, and the on ear literally like the driver is just right next to your ear.
Yeah.
So yeah, now you know what's funny is it's like he was talking about VR technology and that was all going over my head, and now I'm talking about audio and it's like
Yeah.
no one cares. No. But okay, so as far as like VR and audio goes,
Mhm.
I think the index headphones are fine for what they are. But I've always found that like whenever I use open backs or something, something that I like to put on
Yeah.
instead of using what they provide me, I always have a better experience, which is why I think that they should move the focus a little bit to having something modular where I can put my own headphones on, because some people like on ears, some people like over ears, some people like open backs, closed backs, some people like things not touching their ears, some people like in ears and having earbuds in. And it's like the index makes it really hard to put
Hey.
on the type of what's up.
Imagine immersive headphones that have like a diversity where they can flip from open back to closed back with like a flap that's electronic and it's immersed to your video game. So if you're like going into a cave, they just go into closed back. So it's like all of the sound stage just went to like tunnel vision in your head. Like, oh, that would actually change the immersion so much.
It'd be funny.
I saw something like that in
Because
a
as you
patent, but
walk
for
out,
light
yeah.
blocking.
In a
Like as you
patent?
walk out of a building, it would be like the soundstage would open up and you could hear like distance and it wouldn't be so closed. It would actually be very insane.
Yeah, I was reading an Apple. It wasn't for audio, but it was for a patent made by Apple for their XR headset that would actually have electronic light blockers that would automatically adjust to make sure that it seems like all their technology they're using to track a lot of data requires that there's no outside light, ruining the light giving off by the headset. So they had a weird patent about basically light blocking flaps that automatically adjusted, which reminded me of what you were just talking about. So it wouldn't surprise me, honestly, at this point.
But yeah, I really hope that, because again, like I said, it's kind of like gaming headsets to me. Like gaming headsets are great for people who don't care about the audio quality necessarily, and they just want something that they can play games with and have a microphone with. But for me, like I never use the last time I used a gaming headset was like fucking 10 years ago. Like I've had cans and I've used those, and then I've used my standalone microphones because I like having that modular aspect. Because if a gaming headset breaks, your microphone and your headset breaks too. So like with the index headphones, like yeah, I can take them off, but at the same time, I can't really fit much else on there. Like, okay, right now I have the HD250s on, but I had a pair of DT770s, the Bear Dynamic DT770s, which are also closed back, and they're really comfortable. Probably, by the way, if you're looking at audiophile closed back headphones, Bear Dynamic DT770, probably some of the best headphones you can buy. They're like $140, and they are bar none some of the best like neutral sound that I've ever heard. So if you're looking for really neutral sound, those are great. If you've ever Dreams, go to artings.com, RTINGS.com, and then or just look up Artings Bear Dynamic DT770. This is by the way, this is a great website to test headphones with and see. Like it tells you everything from like the temperature that it gets up to whenever you keep it on for long periods of time to, like it grades. They do a grade of everything. Their website. Yeah. Here we go. All right. So yeah, neutral sound 8.3. That's a really good score. But if you go down to the chart. Leaky at higher volumes, bulky design, tight on the head. They loosen up a little bit. The band is really adjustable. By the way, they're also modular, so if you break something, you can just take off take it out and replace it yourself. They'll send you that stuff if you ask for it. But go down to the audio chart. Down. Yeah, sound profile. Click on sound profile. Okay, so that right there is the like those are your audio levels. You can see like the hertz range at the bottom there. So you have your bass range. The low bass is basically things that like humans can't even hear past like the 10 hertz range. But most of your instruments live in like that mid range to lower treble range, you know, and then everything past that like up that um like that squiggle right there is just completely out of the range of human hearing. And by the way, no matter what, if you're an audiophile or whatever, there is definitely a point where you just cannot tell the difference. So I don't care if you have those Sennheiser fucking Orpheus $50,000 headphones that have the tube amps that rise up and you have to wait 30 seconds before you
Oh
can
my
pull out
God.
the headphones. You listen to Hotel California on your fucking FLAC files straight out of the studio back in 1973. I don't care. You can't tell the difference. You're dumb. So, you know, there comes a point where like you should just accept like, yeah, this is probably as good as I'm going to get. But okay, so do like the select another product. Let's do something funny. Do like Beats. See if they have like Beats by Dre or something on there. Underneath the Beyerdynamic DT770 Pro at the like the little drop down options up there above the sound profile. Like select another product. No. You see like frequent, yeah. Select another product right underneath there. Yes. Click on that.
I was going through that. I don't think you can see the drop down menu.
Oh, you can't? Okay. Yeah, just look for like um Beats or something. Or like Raycons. Or just something common that people.
Has anyone ever measured like VR headset audio on these?
I think the frequency range on the, if I remember correctly, it's like 40 hertz to 20,000 hertz on the index, which is pretty good. Like they're pretty good for what
Yeah.
they are. It's just like at the same time, if I can get a cheaper headset and then pay for something separately and then not have these things break on me, I would like to do that.
Gotcha.
Especially if it was designed with putting headphones on in mind, because like obviously I can take them off, but these big bands on the side here are really not designed to have headphones pushed over them, and you know it bends them weird and makes it clench on your head weird.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so you see like that big hump in like the high range right there. It's just like they'll, you know, essentially with these lower powered drivers, uh they'll pump up the areas where most people want to hear, like in bass ranges or in treble ranges, and you know you don't really necessarily get that neutral sound that you would want. Like these that I have on right now are just essentially they're good for podcasting, and that's why I
Right.
wear them, just to hear my own voice and whatnot. But like with that's also why they chose the like um the headphone style that they did, where it's just the drivers next to the ears, so that way you still get that open back type of experience, which is cool. And I wish that more companies would take that into account, like the fucking Oculus ones, like pointing down into your ears is just so dumb. I don't like that. And the fact that it's built into the strap, so that you can't put things over that really.
Yeah.
But all right, welcome. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk regarding audio equipment. I'll quit. Yeah, you're off about it. Well, back to VR then. What are some use cases for VR that you haven't seen like fully realized yet?
um. It's a good question. Um. Wow. I'm not sure. I've seen a lot of things, and I feel like every week I look up stuff that I want to find cool projects, I end up finding things I already didn't
You
think.
mentioned like language learning. Fuck, language learning.
Oh, I already, yeah. There's actually already a really well, there's a few of them, but there's actually one really cool experience. It's called Noun Town, and it's really cool. It's basically you just go into this virtual cute world, and it has a bunch of mini games, a bunch of NPCs to talk to, and the whole design of it is to learn languages, and it's built by people that actually have like degrees in like whatever that's called, linguistics or whatever, and
Fucking linguistics degrees, whatever they do.
whatever they do, they found something. But like, there are a lot of cool applications that are like I find all the time that I even try to get people excited about, but since no one really thinks about these things, they don't really go anywhere, which is a shame because yeah, there's a lot of applications for VR other than just gaming. But I think we're not at the point where people care because the amount of friction that people are willing to go through to do some of these things, such as learning a language, are very different than what gamers are willing to do to have an immersive game, for example. So I'm not sure. I really can't answer that because I've seen so many things, and I keep being surprised about what I keep seeing in the VR space.
Uh, I think it's actually like honestly, as far as language learning goes, I think it's even more simple than that.
Mm.
Like if you look at VR chat, if I go to Japan Shrine, I can see a
Oh,
ton of Japanese people, and so a lot of language learning is just immersing yourself into the culture and like
Mm-hmm.
just being around people who speak the language. That's the whole phrase is you don't use it, you lose it. So
Yeah.
if people can immerse themselves into that, because it's one thing to be on a Zoom call or a Discord call with people from another country, and it's another thing to be in a whole group of them and like participating in a conversation with them. And that's why I think VR chat in particular is really useful for that socialization aspect, and like
That's
even
true.
even deeper than just games designed specifically for language learning. You have these communities that are being built, like I know there's a sign language community where they do sign language in VR.
About to say that, yeah.
And by the way,
I
I actually I won't mention this. I'll tell you a story afterwards.
okay.
But
I actually wanted to like bring up like I actually the last meetup I had with my community was to explore VRCon, and one of my active members in my community is actually he's deaf and mute like in real life, so he knows sign language, of course. Um, and what was cool is there was a booth in the VRCon that was advertising the sign language community, like you're talking about. And he went up to the booth, knew it was part of what he already knows, and he started doing sign language in VR with his finger tracking. And then everyone just or a couple of people went up to him and just sort of were learning, like he was teaching them different things and stuff, and it was just so cool. Um,
okay,
to see
you
that.
know what? I'll brisk over the top of this because I do kind of want your opinion on this, and I
Hmm.
think this is an important aspect. So, I used to be in the sign language community. And
Okay.
then I'll just kind of say, like, there was a YouTuber, a really popular YouTuber, who made a video about the community, and they had posted like the Discord and the link or in the description. And so
All right.
thousands and thousands of people
Oh my.
immediately joined into this group. And it just kind of like immediately felt like it was less about sign language, like people were just
Yeah.
there to see like the spectacle of like, oh, you happen to be in a YouTube video, I want to be connected to that. And so it didn't feel as close knit of a community, and I kind of stepped off,
Yes.
especially after I mentioned like I think gatekeeping can be good for certain communities, especially whenever they're these niche communities that
Yeah.
they supply this thing that you can't get elsewhere, and whenever you have a large amount of people, and it's not necessarily the fault of those people, but it's just
Hmm.
inevitable that you will have people that join that aren't
Yeah.
necessarily aligned with the interests of the community.
No, I completely agree with this. I think it's a different kind of gatekeeping, honestly, than like, for example, there's apparently the Boneworks modding community have like really strict rules of what you can mod in the game, and like they'll even if you don't follow these community made rules that the actual developers don't enforce or care about, they will like ban you from the Discord or whatever, and I think that's stupid because the whole point of modding is like doing whatever you want. But anyway, no, but like that gatekeeping I think is ridiculous. I don't really like that.
Yeah.
But what you're saying, I maybe because I'm biased because for my own community, people always ask me, Brad, why don't you shout out your Discord like on Twitter or like your YouTube videos or stuff? And it's because by not doing that, I kind of do get to filter the type of people that come in my Discord, and are active in the Discord. And like we have channels, like we have a Linux channel, we have a DIY channel and stuff like this. And all the people in my Discord and just my community in general are higher quality because I kind of do filter out some of the people that are either not taking things seriously. I mean, I'm near my 30s, right? I don't want to deal with little kids. Like
Yeah,
honestly, like I don't want to
that's
deal with little kids that are just memeing everything. I want people that like either working on cool stuff or have like really cool interests and like are sharing those interests
On the
productively.
on the
So,
topic of gatekeeping, my big one I've seen a community get destroyed by a lack of gatekeeping is the SCP Foundation.
yeah,
Like what happens is somebody who is not aligned with the original like opinion or what the objective of the website or group is becomes a moderator, and then they write their own narrative into the story of whatever SCP Foundation is that doesn't align with like it should have been a joke thing, but they just pushed it in
yeah,
and then banned anyone who had a problem with it. I
yeah.
got banned. I got banned the day that they were like, this transgender satellite is an SCP now, and you have to deal with that because I say so because I'm the moderator of
well,
this site.
I think it's
It's
more
like,
just generalized of the sense of like just it's not even necessarily specific topics, more of just the people will be dumb, you know, like you will have
Hmm.
people who just want to start things. And that's why riots happen at protests, is why, because people, there are people who go in with not the intention of the actual the protest that's happening
Yeah,
or whatever, and they just want to start issues. Like I was at a concert
absolutely.
last night, and there are literally people that go to concerts just to start fights like that. They, you can see it in their eyes, like you look at
Yeah.
them and it's like, why did you pay $50 to get into this concert just to come start a fight with someone? So, you know,
Well, it's like how you were talking about earlier. Like, it's hard for you to get engaged into a video game. Well, as I get older, I notice it's hard for me to want to spend time on a community unless that community is actually high quality. So, when it comes to my own community, I'm going to make it high quality. Otherwise, I'm not going to spend any time in there. So, yeah.
yeah. But then again, whenever, like, just the prospect of what all of these technologies are doing for or the communities, what they're doing. Like I had a booth at VRCon. I don't know if you saw.
I did see that. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So it was cool to be able to see all of these different people come by, and especially like meeting people that are interested in what I do, and then I can see what they do, and it's like, whoa, like it's a mutual benefit of like I could come talk to you here and display what you do for the VR community, and how you're utilizing it in interesting ways. Um, it's a really it reminds me of like the beginning of how the internet was, you know, like when
Yeah.
people still
Yeah.
had that good intention. So I really hope that we can kind of preserve that to some extent, where people still have that the light in their
Mhm.
eyes regarding the new technology.
No, I agree with that. I literally read a comment on YouTube the other day. I forget what video it was for, but the comment was just saying like this reminds me like early 2000s internet where every time I went on, it was just like a big adventure of like seeing a bunch of new cool things. Whereas now it's not really like that as much anymore because it's become so capitalize like it's advertisements, it's just kind of watered down from that niche like experience. That's why like even though like I'm excited that more people are getting into VR, it's inevitably gonna become the point where I'm gonna probably miss the days that it is right now. Like it's very like I remember in 2016 you didn't hear one 10-year-old voice in a multiplayer game when VR was around then. Like it was non-existent. Now you open up
Yeah.
like any game that has Quest 2 support and like you can't find a lobby without like high-pitched voices, you know? And like that's I'm great. I'm good for those kids, but like it makes me miss the days when it was a
you know,
little even more
Pavlov is a
niche.
wasteland. Like,
Yeah.
you can't you feel like a psychopath killing children all day. You're like, what am I doing here? Like, this is murdering children.
Oh,
I'm not John Wick. I'm just outsmarting ignorant children.
I get that transitions well into something I want to talk about. Like, so and I swear this is related. Do you think like cryptocurrency is kind of getting in the way of putting like PC VR headsets in the hands of consumers? You know, it's like I can't get a
yes.
graphics card to support the headset that I want. So and
Yes.
that I think is also really driving the push for mobile headsets where people are just
Mhm.
buying Quests because they don't have the money to purchase a nice gaming PC to support this. It's like it was nice that before crypto I had a 1080 so I'm able to
Yeah.
use this and I can play this game, but there are people I know they don't want to pay $3,000 for a graphics
No.
card and then buy a $1,000 headset to support that. They want to pay $300-$400 for a headset and be able to jump right in immediately.
I remember when I right when pre-orders for the 3090 came up, I bought it. I pre-ordered it. It was like $1,400. I remember everyone in my community were making fun of me then. Like, wow, you're buying a graphics card for $1,400. That graphics card now is like $2,800 on a good day. And like the cards you can get for $1,400 are like the 3070s. And that's terrible for PC VR for obvious reasons. That's freaking awful. Which and it sucks even more because yeah, we have a headset, the Quest 2, that's $300, and for a lot of people, it can be a gateway drug to PC VR. I freaking love that fact about it. Guy Godin, thank God for Guy Godin. Oh my God, he's the creator of Virtual Desktop. But like, it makes me really sad. But thankfully, we have a lot other ways of making the barrier to PC VR better. We have, I think his name was FG Holder. He created a mod that you can put in most VR games as long as they run on OpenVR that will add AMD FSR, which allows the game to render at a low resolution, but uses AMD's FSR technology to upscale it without losing a lot of that details. That's really big for lower tier computers or people that can't upgrade their graphics cards. In fact, I'm using it right now, and I have like some of the best graphics cards on the market. But stuff like that is what makes like I made a video about that mod, by the way, and a lot of people it almost trended because a lot of people were excited that they're not potato PCs but lower tier PCs could actually run a lot of experiences better with it. So I hope this crap ends. I hate it. I mean, this is the second time it's happened. I remember back in 2016, this also happened, like the same
Yeah.
time that VR was or at least consumer VR was re-engaging again, and like this stupid trend. I wanted to go back down so people can do PC VR more because I love PC VR. I think it's great.
Isn't it funny that the PlayStation 5, like, there were pre-orders a year ago, and there are now, like, hundreds and hundreds of people lining up at the doors and
Yeah.
at stores to get one still?
Yeah, it's insane.
And did you not did you see that China figured out a way to use PlayStation 5s to mine crypto, and so now they're buying PlayStation 5s to mine? Like,
Yeah,
God
yeah,
damn
I
it,
did see
man! It
that.
never ends.
Oh,
Like, listen, I think crypto is cool, and I think the implications in the future are going to be important and interesting. But the hype around it right now is so overblown, especially dude, like I saw like an NFT. It was like a squiggle that sold the other day for I think I sent it in your server, and it was like, you know, it sold
oh,
for like
dude.
$3 million. Like, why don't you
Yeah.
just say like I am laundering money? Like, why don't you just say it outright?
Yeah,
That's all that these
absolutely.
things are. And anyone who isn't laundering money and is buying into them is getting scammed, and they are just dumping money into things that they have no
Oh
clue.
God. No,
Yeah, when the Jake Paul's guys came out and were like, "Yeah, we got to jump on this new
Like
if it
making
is
coins. Yeah.
fake, get in now, because we are
Mhm.
telling you right now that this is bullshit, and we're gonna jump out right when it blows up, so because
Yeah.
we know it's nothing, it's garbage, it's all flake, it's just these people, man. Dink doink is what they called it, because they're like, what if we make a stupid thing just like you said, like a squiggle?
Yeah.
Money laundering.
But you know what? Good for the people that are selling them. Those are my favorite people. Are the people who are making NFTs and just selling them
Yeah,
for
the artists are making bank finally, first time in their lives.
Yeah, it's like holy shit. Like the starving artist is no more. You just have to sell your work as an NFT, and all of
Yeah.
these crypto people will buy into it. But yeah, I really hope that it dies out. I mean, I have money in crypto, so I also hope it like doesn't. But you know, I hope it stabilizes. Is what I hope people realize that like we don't need to blow this to this proportion. Bitcoin doesn't need to be like the next big thing right now, because especially Bitcoin is also, just because it was the first crypto doesn't mean it's the best one. Like the technology in certain like other cryptos is way better and way more secure and has better use cases, and I hope that we begin to adopt those as opposed to Bitcoin itself.
Let's make a currency right now. Bitcoin 2. The
There is
sequels are all. The
no,
sequel will be better than the original. Trust me.
no, sure.
Yeah.
Every single crypto developer has done that already. It's like here's Sushi Swap, here's Uniswap, here's Dogecoin, here's Ethereum, and fucking Cardano, Monero. Who knows? There's so many cryptocurrencies, and they all have different applications and use cases, but none of it seems to really be affecting anything positively right now.
Well,
Like it's not
yeah.
something where it's like, hey, the shortage of computer chips is warranted because of what this crypto is doing. Like, no, I don't really see that anywhere right now.
I just think it's gonna. I mean, it happens every time. I think it's just gonna like, quote unquote, crash, and when that does happen, a bunch of GPUs are gonna flood the used market, and a lot of people are gonna be able to get GPUs for cheaper prices, and then the retailers will start selling their new GPUs for more affordable prices because the demand for GPUs is gonna go down a ton. So they'll have to start discounting. So just gotta wait for that crash. It'll happen because it always happens. It always goes up for a time, then it just down, and then stagnates for a little bit, and then goes up again. It's like a, I don't know. It's pretty cut and dry what's gonna happen. I think it almost bores me.
Did you I saw that you hit 90,000 recently. That's
Yeah.
pretty interesting. That's cuz I think how quickly did that happen, cuz I swear the last time
Okay.
I checked you were at like 81K.
Yeah. So, well, I should just give a short overview of my channel. Really, 2016 I started doing YouTube content. It was mostly just gameplay, and that was it. I did that for a year, and a half, I would say. And then from that point on to this year, I would make like maybe 1 or 2 videos almost per year. Like I was not interested in doing actual YouTube. But during the first year and a half or to 2 years, I like jumped from 0 to like 65K subscribers in like very short period of time. And then this year, I started around like 75K, and I decided I kind of don't like the YouTube VR landscape right now. I'm gonna hop in and try something different. So I rebooted my channel, which anyone who's rebooted their channel after not posting content on a regular basis can tell you it's actually harder than starting a brand new channel, because the algorithm basically lists that your channel is dead, and getting the algorithm to reintroduce your content from a quote unquote dead channel is very difficult.
Yeah.
But no, I'm pretty happy with the growth since I rebooted the channel earlier this year. And not only that, the content I was making in my first 2 years of YouTube for VR were not stuff I enjoyed making, honestly. I thought it was uninteresting, boring, and I wanted to make stuff I was proud of. And but now I'm making stuff I really like to talk about. I love talking about VR technology. I love talking about all these new emerging technologies for VR. I get to showcase stuff all the time that I probably wouldn't have been able to because I would have been too afraid to back when I first started, because the audience has changed a lot since then. And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier about like gatekeeping. Because I've changed my content so much, and my audience has changed dramatically, and all the people I do that are subscribing and I am thankful that I reached 90K. But really, the quality of people who are watching my content now and like commenting on every video
It's
are
more
just
consistent now.
it's way, I wouldn't say older audience, but like I get phone calls every other day from people that are working in the industry. Like the other day, I talked to the guy who created Google Glass at Google, like literally,
Oh, geez.
and like yeah, like these people are watching my videos because they think it's amazing that someone is doing that, and I'm just so happy because I just get to talk to such cool people all the time, and I think that's the best part of doing this. So yeah.
That's a part of why I started this. Is I hope that I can, kind of talk to people and showcase one, that like you can do a podcast in VR, and
Yeah.
two, that there are a lot of people really changing the landscape right now, and
Mm-hmm.
it's important to document that and kind of show people like, hey, here's what you can do. Here's what
Yeah.
you could do if you stepped into this technology. This isn't something that you need $1,000 for. You if you have a couple $100 and some time, you can make some incredibly cool content for VR.
And
So
what's also cool about doing content for VR, whether it be hardware or even software, every video you make, as long as you keep it on the platform, because YouTube's gonna be around forever, honestly. It's like making an archive of opinions and hardware and like everything now. So when we like 10 years from now, people will look back at our videos and how we reacted to things thinking it's amazing. And we'll kind of laugh at that. I think that like thinking about that all the time is like really attractive for me, because for me, I love going back to like early 2000 videos, or like people in their camcorders in the 90s doing like their own reviews on like hardware in the 90s, and they're like so excited about the first generation iPod that looks like a brick and stuff. And like I look at those videos with just such a lot of, I love it. I think the fact that we're in such a new medium, and like all the stuff we're wearing now, it's gonna be so outdated so fast that it's gonna be so fun to like look back at these videos as an archive of VR's history.
yeah, I can't wait. That's another thing too, is looking back to see, because yeah, I love looking back on old videos from early 2000s. Like, the amount of times I go see Door Stuck or fucking Streets 112, and just, it's like, man, that was just a different era. Like, we're approaching this paradigm shift of
Mhm.
of how technology is going to shape our future. So I'm really, again, scared and excited to see what happens. But
Yeah.
who knows? We're in for the ride now, so we may as well see where it goes.
Yeah, for sure.
But we're a little over the 2.5 hour mark, and the Nintendo Direct is today. I would like to see that. As much as you don't like Nintendo Directs,
I mean, yeah, they're okay.
I want. Listen, man.
I
I
haven't
need.
eaten dinner yet,
Yeah,
too. So
I
yeah.
need to know. I need to know whether or not they made an N64 Classic, because by God, I need to play Banjo Kazooie on new hardware. Okay, before we
I
go,
have that right here. I'm gonna go play it right now.
before we hold on, before we go, can we talk a little bit about emulation? Because, like, okay, here's the thing. How do you feel about pirating games? I've talked about this on other things, or with other people, but like, how do you, as far as like pirating retro games, games that you wouldn't otherwise have access to, what is kind of your thought on that?
Well, you know, especially things that are impossible to access, like you said, or buy these days. I think that is like, I think people who are against that are ridiculous, to be honest. Like, have you ever watched the what's his name? Ross from Accursed Farms,
I have
his
not.
channel? Oh god, I love his content. So he loves showing off games that would normally, if he didn't bring them up, or even like he even like some games he'll even upload the files that he found from his old CDs because they're abandonware. Those games would be dead forever and lost to time. So I think the idea of pirating and uploading old ROMs of games that are not for sale as like an archival reason is incredibly valuable to really everyone in the community. The idea that just because you didn't buy a game, uh, years back, or even can buy a game now and you can't do it, I think it's silly. I think
Yeah.
don't let games become abandonware or dead games. That also talks about like games running on a server, a central server. That's freaking gives me a migraine. Like one day, if a central server for that game just shuts down and you no longer have access to a game you paid for example,
Yeah.
like I hate crap like that. So yeah, I don't know.
Let's just hope that Nintendo starts paying more attention to their retro games. Like they killed the Wii library, like one of the largest libraries of retro games that you could play, and then it's like they just drip feed you these retro games now for new hardware. Honestly, I would respect Nintendo. This would never happen, but this is what I wish Nintendo would do. They would just make a website and it would just be like, fuck it. Here's all of the ROMs for every game we've ever made, and you can pay for them and then play
Yeah.
them on whatever emulator you want. I would so go pay for games that way. It's not that people don't want, and Gabe Newell had a quote about this. He's like, piracy is not a consumer
Oh, yeah.
issue, it is a developer issue. Developers are not providing ways for these people to play games. You know,
Mhm.
like the thing is I could, I have Banjo-Kazooie on my N64. I can play it like that on my CRT and go home and go do that, or I can play it at 60 FPS on my computer with, like new textures and everything like that, and running on whatever controller I want to at whatever resolution with, I can change any setting that I want. And the fact that fans can make better, they can create better ways to play these games than the developers can really shows that they need to start stepping up their game for providing access to these old games, because people would pay for that. Like, I mean, that was shown with like Mario All Stars. Like, I paid for Mario All Stars.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
really hope that they.
Well, think about like the Steam Deck, like how popular that device is. It runs
Oh yeah,
on Linux.
emulation is gonna be so. Dude, do you know how many emulators I'm gonna install on that thing, man? I'm gonna play every game imaginable on there.
Yeah.
Especially GoldenEye 007, because that game will never be re-released because of the fucking licensing issues. That's another
Yeah.
thing. Licensing issues prevents games from being republished and stuff. So
Oh yeah. There's a ton of abandonware that are not technically abandonware because companies just decide not to figure out a way to release it. So I think for those kind of titles, like pirate it away. Like honestly, I don't see anything wrong about it. So
well, I appreciate you coming on the show, and I love your shirt. You could buy it at I'm probably gonna get one, at bradsmells.com, right?
merch.bradsmells.com.
Yeah, and you can check what's your YouTube link? I'll leave it in the description, but it's just
bradsmells.com/YouTube.
There we go. Yeah, awesome. Well, again, I'm gonna go check out the new Nintendo Direct, but thank you so much for coming, and
No
I hope you come
problem.
back.
Oh yeah, this was great. I felt it was actually like, I'm glad that you do such long form podcasts like this, because most I go on to, they like limit it to an hour, so I always feel like rushed. So
Well, you see, the
this is
thing
great.
is, like, I want to be able to pull clips from this. I want to, like, I
Yeah.
think longer formats allow for me to pull things. Like, if someone wants to hear about us talk about, like retro games only,
Yeah.
and then they want to go watch one about this, and they can like pick and choose instead of having to sit through, like an hour and a half long
definitely.
podcast. They can pick some clips from a 2 hours
audience
41
is-
minute long.
If I was an
podcast.
audience watching another podcast and they were like cutting off this guy talking about some shit I wanted to hear about, that would annoy the shit out of me. It's like, that's great, Greg. We got a lot of time schedule.
Yeah,
Sorry, you
I
can't
hate
talk
that
about
crap.
that.
Yeah, I really hate
Yeah.
that. So I'm glad this was so chill because of the not worrying about time. So
Well, yeah, and thank you again for getting me back in the saddle to do this again, because
Oh, of
holy shit,
course.
I've been waiting for so long for a guest to come along. So it's been really exciting to actually start making videos again
Absolutely.
after 5 fucking months, man. That's ridiculous. I've had I will never name names, but like I've had a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, for sure, and then just next day nothing.
Yeah.
Just time comes and nothing. And that's the thing about online is no one has any accountability, so it's just like, well, what do you do? But
Oh,
yeah.
alright.
All right. Well, I will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.
Goodbye.
Bye.